What? Pros and cons, pros and cons. The world ain't bad, but it's really your mom. It's cracking. It's kind of a crappy intro, but it is what it is.
Hi, everybody.
About to log on. Not me, of course. I never get to be included in the chat. I don't get to see. But I can maybe glance over, try and see, but I can't.
Turn the volume down. We got Mr. Kruger
Let me
in
turn,
the chat.
turn off this air conditioner. It's probably loud.
Oh yeah, forgot about that. He's posted a little white square. White Lives Matter. WLM.
I saw a meme today that said, and please help me understand the logic behind it. If you happen to understand the analogy that was used, it said, I'm wearing a shirt that says on 9/11 that says all buildings matter. Do you get it now? That's what the meme was, and a bunch of people that were like, I'm waiting for someone to come defend this post. So if you understand the logic behind that, please call in and talk about it. Say something in the chat, let us know, because I'd like to know the logic behind that. To me, it doesn't make sense. And I could explain why it doesn't make sense, but before I do that, I want to hear what someone else has to say about it. Someone just try and call?
It was my Instagram buddies, but I don't think
That's cute.
I don't think they're calling about the show.
Tell them to beat it.
So kind of just let everyone kind of mosey on into the stream. We kind of get this all set up slowly but surely. We see people are walking on in.
Yeah.
What day is today? Wednesday? Tuesday? Wednesday? Tuesday. Tuesday for some people, which is every day.
Yeah.
Hey, you can show that new Biggie song you were.
Oh.
Anyway.
Yeah, I was listening. I was like, man, I never learned those chords, but it's not that hard. It's just see if you know the song. Yeah. That's the whole song. There'd be two types of people that would hear that. One would say that I'm riding the coattails of the culture, and then another person would say, well, that's cool that you're celebrating and enjoying the culture, right? I guess it goes to show you that in life you can choose to look at things, or maybe it's not your choosing at all. Maybe it's just whoever you're serving, the influence. If you serve negativity, that's what you're going to see. You know what I mean? I realize it's like, someone asked me, I was talking to my buddy Broseph David on Instagram, right? He called me and we were talking, and he's like, why do you think some people wake up and some people don't? And we were saying, do you think it's a choice? And then I thought about it, I'm like, I don't think it's a choice, actually, because you can't choose what you see. You see what you see. Do you hear that?
Yeah, that was the neighbor.
That guy's nuts. You know, at least that's how I see it. I didn't choose anything. I was called for it. You know, when you look and you see something, and you can't help what you see. It's just what you see. And the more I see, the more I want to see. See. You know.
Yeah, I don't think we choose to do anything. I didn't choose to, to be asleep for all those years and operate from anger, and I didn't choose to wake up. It just, I don't know. I think if you're seeking what's right, Jesus,
Where?
upstairs
Yeah,
apparently.
they're insane. You know what? I think about is I don't even think that I was so much asleep my whole life. I think that it was it's like a flower. You know, it's like you're a vine or whatever, and then you sprout and you grow or whatever, and then you hit that point where you blossom as the flower.
Yeah.
I think it was more of the blossoming as opposed to like changing, because there's so many parts of me that are still the same. You know, like I always wanted to see was little bastard. There's so many parts of me that are still the same, but they just were tweaked. You know, that kind of connected the dots to seeing things why I saw them that way.
Yeah, I think you don't lose who you are. Like the way I felt was, I can remember now after the whole overcoming your anger and everything, forgiving people. I look back and I realize I still had the same kind of sense of humor as a kid, same positive outlook, same walk by faith, not by sight. You just didn't have an ego as a kid. You just liked all things. You were curious of all things, and it was only along the way that you start picking up these invisible bags of baggage and opinions and it's just all the crap that your parents give you and your friends give you in the world. And then you just let it go and you realize you're still the same person there.
Yeah.
You're just carrying all this nonsense around.
That's the thing that I realize is that we have two identities, one that's real and one that's fake. And then before we're born, and that's our real identity and it's our soul, and then we're born, we come into the world, and we observe the world, and we're taught by our parents, it's imposed on us, and then the world imposes on us. Because everything we see, we don't realize is being imposed on us and is influencing us and tricking our egos, which is our false identity, into thinking that it's us and that it's our choosing and that it's our idea. And I think that's part of, like nowadays there's so many people with an identity crisis issue, whether it be the people with transitional issues or gay or even, people that are totally into their culture. And they identify as their culture and their group ethnicity because they need to have this identity. And I think people typically pick and choose with their thoughts and their imagination about who they are. And it's all false reality just to make their ego feel alive, And for me, I realized that I'm nothing. I'm nobody. And I understand how the world perceives things because the world is the world. If you dress like a bum, people are going to probably think you're a bum. And so you got to have common sense and know that even if you know that you're nothing, right? It doesn't mean that you don't have any sense of dignity or pride in being in the world. It's just knowing the difference. Like, if you dress the part in life, you're going to probably get the part. And that's the thing that I realized for myself is I'm not going to be a bum, and I'm not going to think of myself as nothing, or think of myself as something. But I mean that in a sense of like a lot of people will think that if you think of yourself as nothing, that's negative, and that's like you don't love yourself or that you are self-conscious. But I see it as more so that the human beings can't really fathom what nothing is. Because even if you had a cup of nothing, it's still something, There's really no way to see what nothing is. And so when I think of nothing, I think of zero, I think of God, and I think of infinity. And anytime I'm going to try to stack on things about myself to create an identity of myself, I'm limiting who I am, and creating a box for myself when I don't want to turn my sky into a ceiling. If that makes sense. Did they say I make sense? I might sound insane.
I think they get it. There's some good news. Gaucho Bear, Danny from church, his sister, the guy who got me and him into the union, that she's pregnant.
Wow.
He knocked her up. Congratulations.
Are you?
Yeah, they're married too, so this is under the umbrella of God. So they did it the right way. And it's funny because not to share too much, but I know Danny's openly talked about this. Is that he kind of became an example for them because they were kind of the same thing. Like, let's wait till the right moment to have kids. And Danny was just like, no, man, you don't plan. You make love to your wife when it's revealed to you. And if she gets pregnant, she gets pregnant. You raise that kid, and you just keep moving. And his sister kind of got with the program. And
Would you agree that God is love?
God is all love.
Okay, if God is love, then what does it mean to say make love to your wife? Does that mean you're making God?
I don't know. It's interesting.
Does that mean that would you take that as like making God, meaning creating?
I wouldn't take it, not with the eyes I have now. But I think before in that fallen state, it kind of is that. You are making the woman God, or the act of sex your God.
Well, I was thinking of playing God in the sense of making love. If God is love, right? Sex would be to create a child, and so you're creating
like the way
a
God
human
would.
being.
Interesting.
Exactly, and God's creation, right?
That's a nicer way to look at it. It's like, we're not playing God, but it's the closest thing we got to what He did for us. He created us, so we kind of, we're not creating
like co-creating.
it.
Yeah, because it's not us doing it. We're just
riding the coattails
we're just
of God.
observing and there for the ride. You know what I'm saying?
Let's see. Raymond's in the chat. And
what's up, Raymond?
Black
Is that the Raymond from church?
Raymond. Is there? Oh no. Jesse. Yeah.
Jesse, I was just wondering. I love that guy.
He's a beast though.
He's an OG.
He doesn't mince his words.
He's actually really smart. He always says something that has like a depth to it.
Every time. He's actually
and a lot of people would be deceived into thinking, oh, that guy, he's got some problems, or he's not mentally there. But where he comes from and what he says is deeper than a lot of these people that are asleep that can articulate and use big words.
Every time. Raymond never ceases to surprise me at church or the men's meeting. He always has some really great observation, and he sums it up with very little words. He doesn't need to say a whole lot of things.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's way more profound than some of these people who just go on and on. Let's see. Of course, we got Matt. Raymond says we should get that Lord Jesus, Lori Lightfoot can be removed physically soon. He's talking about that black lesbian Beetlejuice mayor of Chicago. But yeah, they all need to go. Illihan Omar, Beetlejuice, the whole bunch. Just gotta get them out. It's no good.
So I want to know what you guys think about what I said earlier about the T-shirt that somebody said they want to make, which was on 9/11, I'm going to wear a T-shirt that says all buildings matter. Do you get it? That's what it said. So I just want to know what you guys think of that. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't get the analogy. I get what they're trying to say, but it just doesn't make sense. So help me understand if you know what that means.
Omar, Black Stepdad, says he has a coworker like that too, like Raymond. He says everyone thinks he's weird because he has a terrible stutter. He's actually a very smart guy with a lot of insight. Yeah. According to another coworker, I get along with all the weirdos. Yes, because they're all blind and angry and hateful of people.
Yeah, you either get along with people or you don't.
Yeah, you can't get along with some. You either get along with all of them or you don't.
And if you don't get along with someone, it's because you're being judgmental. You're taking on feelings of people, and
It doesn't mean you have to be hanging out with them or being their best friend or following them on Instagram.
Right. But it means you get along.
But you get along with them. You can talk to them if they want to be civil. You can correct them. You can stop talking to them, but you do it in the right way. That's getting along. Get along while you can.
You can say, get along, boy. Beat it.
Go on now, get it. Go on now. Stephen Will. Welcome to the chat, Stephen, I want to hear from you. I know you want to mix and you want to have black, white babies. You want to co-mingle with a black woman. So I want to hear your opinion.
I can understand if you met someone unexpectedly and you're just like, wow, I really like this person, and then it fell together and you're like, whoa, I didn't know that I would end up with this person. But the idea of trying to like create a situation in your mind and an expectation, like I'm gonna marry this type of person and it's gonna be like this or that. I noticed like women would do that. Like growing up, like women will create that list. Especially when they're younger, like I'm gonna be married by this age.
Oh yeah, women love lists.
He's
6 feet tall. He's tall, dark, and
handsome. And you end up disappointed. I think it's better to just live your life, do what's right, And then
Yeah.
it will be revealed to you, and you'll be able to recognize. Because as soon as you make a plan, this is what I know for myself. As soon as I make a plan and I stick to the plan, that creates blinders. So I can't see all the other opportunities and blessings that are in front of me because I'm chasing what I want or what I think I want. If I'm open and I'm just living my best life, then I can see things that I couldn't plan. You know what I'm saying? You know what you know, right? I know that I can play the piano, right? I know that. I know that I don't know how to fly a plane. So I know what I know. I know what I don't know. And then there's a whole area of I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah.
You know?
And I would recommend Will go to the Pros and Cons IG page. There's some snippets of a caller that called in, a woman sharing how she also realized that what plays women is that whole idea of what Trevor says. You make a list in your head of what you think you want, and it's all based on that fallen state mentality, that emotional state, and it is coming from the wrong place. It's not saying that you can't. We have people like Mark, who's in the chat. He married someone who's not exactly the same heritage, but that's because he waited, did it right, and it wasn't him asking for it or looking for it. It was added to him, and it worked. So it can work.
And if you follow Bros and Cons TV on Instagram and you see anything about sandwiches, you know it's him.
It's me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And ladies, I know that you could easily, I don't know how it happened, but sometimes society creates stereotypes or creates word spells on people where you hear something like a woman could hear, women could make sandwiches, right? And they'd be triggered about it. And then one of the things about that is you hear words and then they control you. It makes you feel hateful or judgmental or, offended or something like that.
Right.
When nothing should offend you, you can just laugh at it. It's like it's just words and it's no big deal.
Right. If someone, like with Steven, with Skip sharing his observation, it stirs something in you, and that's okay. I used to operate that same way, but that should be your insight. Like, whoa, why is him sharing his observation, regardless of whether I agree or not, why does it stir feelings in me? That's what you want to catch, and that's what you want to kind of pay attention to, because you should overcome that part. Hear everything. Be able to hear anything, talk about any topic without feeling anything. And that's what we're good at.
And the beauty is, too, is allowing other people to have their opinions. Say what they want to say. Say what you need to say. Like, other people should be allowed to be who they want to be, even if it's the wrong idea of what you think in your mind they should be. Let them be. Let it be. And it shouldn't control. Like, I used to be that way where I would, all the energies of people around me would affect me all the time. And I felt like it was a superpower. I'm like, whoa, like I can sense negativity and all these things. And it was deceiving me. It was my ego. And at the end of the day, nothing should have that power and control over you inside. Because there's two realities. There's the world around you, and then there's a spiritual battle inside. And if you focus too much on the world around you, then it distracts you from the spirit inside, and you're not able to see that the world around you is controlling your spirit inside. And it shouldn't. It should be like a shield where nobody can make you feel anything. Like, and a lot of people would think like, oh, that means you're numb and you're a robot. But it's not at all. It's just the only thing that can happen when you have the highs and lows of like expecting the world to determine how you feel. Like, oh, I'm gonna do this because it makes me feel good. I'm gonna stay away from that because it makes me feel bad. Then the world controls you, and that's what it's really about. So I would say it's always better to let people be who they are and don't fall down those judgmental thoughts that seduce you into going down that path of thinking you're better than somebody. Because that's what it is. It's your ego thinking that you're better and that,
yeah, that they're backwards for
you've
having that
arrived.
opinion.
They're so stupid, Like, there's a lot of things, people are crazy these days, and I say that, but I don't feel anything towards them. And I joke around and say that they're nuts or whatever it is, but I'm not feeling anything about it,
Zeke, Deputy, new guy, haven't seen him before, but welcome to the chat. He says, trigger words are for people under mind control. To be free is to have no anger.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you got trigger words, keep overcoming. You're not quite there yet, and don't think you are. You should have 0 trigger words. 0.
And another thing that I realize is, when I was younger, I used to think, oh, I'm going to do this because it makes me feel good. I'm going to do this because it makes me feel bad. Then it distracts you from the spiritual battle inside. And if you focus too much on the world around you, then nowadays everybody wants to share with everybody. They want to share their weaknesses, they want to share their insecurities, and they want to, like part of being what conservative means is that you conserve yourself, your problems, and you allow it to be between you and God, and it's so much easier to figure things out for yourself, because as soon as you start like confiding in people, and sometimes there's the right people that you can talk to, but I think that I've learned for myself that the more I try to ask other people for advice and seek out and tell people my issues even, or even business or information, then those people end up, trying to take on your problems or whatever, and then they can give you bad advice, and then it skews your ability to really know what the right decision is for yourself. Like, there's a lot of different instances that it happens, and people bring it up. It's like if you share something with somebody, they're gonna always have in the back of their head and know they're gonna end up judging you about it, and then they're gonna like try to help you with it over time. It's like, and at the end of the day, it's your fault because you invited it. You know what I mean? I think it's just better to pick and choose, of course, because sometimes there's the right people that you can ask advice and talk to, but just for small talk where you're like, feeling good and with your friends or whatever, and you're talking about someone, or you're sharing your weaknesses, or it always ends up backfiring, and it distorts your ability to have a sound mind to make your own decisions between you and God. That's just what I think. I'm not telling you what to do, but
I think this reminds me of something you said, Trevor, and you can finish it off. Mickey D says, I think you're a machine when you have triggers, like somebody pushing your buttons. And you say something similar when you tell people it's not that...
Yeah, it's not that I'm pushing your buttons, it's that you have created buttons for me to push.
Right.
And I like that robot analogy, because robots have buttons.
Exactly. Lin Yanchen.
Is he in the chat?
Not yet. JLG just dropped in. What's up, JLG? He's been listening to the JLP throwbacks. Stevie O was recommended probably through JLP, so he found us on YouTube recommended.
What's up, brother?
Yeah, so everyone who's in the chat right now, all of you, if you can hit that share button, share it to all your platforms.
Yeah, especially because we just started, and maybe someone can tune in and check it out.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll hate us, maybe they'll like us, whatever. At the end of the day, I think now's an important time to, get rid of the fear of being able to talk about stuff. We're in America, crying. We should be able to speak our minds, which poses the questions. Do you think that there's any thoughts and opinions that should not be had? Do you think that there are any thoughts and opinions that should not be had? Do they exist?
Right.
What do you think?
I think it doesn't matter. Any and all opinions, they exist. They exist. I have no opinion about those opinions.
Should they not be had?
No. There should be no control over what should or should not be had.
Because at the end of the day, control is not love.
Right. Don't control. You can't control yourself. If we had self-control and self, will, like willpower, why the hell would we put ourselves in bad situations like my buddy Steven? Why would any of us use drugs that would mess up our mental state? Why would any of us, commit crime? Why would I do something that got me into jail? Why would I do that? It's not because I wanted to. It's not because I wanted to suffer. It's because we're not in control of anything. And you either serve one master or you serve the other. And when you serve the wrong one, you suffer. You go to jail. You do drugs. You can't have a good relationship with women. Everything just sucks. And you blame it on everything else. And then you go listen to these self-help gurus that keep telling you can will yourself into success. You can't. It's actually the opposite. You have to surrender and submit and realize that you are nothing. Let God do the work, and you just ride that horse. Zeke says, if you open up your shortcomings to people living through their egos, they will use it to feed their egos. Exactly. Don't share everything.
And they mask it as they're helping you, but they're not. What they're doing is they're trying to help themselves to feel better. And not all, but for the most part. And I have a different kind of perspective because I was born and raised in LA, right? I lived in Orange County for a while for high school, and it's a totally different world out there, but California raised. And LA is a melting pot of all kinds of people, right? But when the majority of people that move here from other places are here because they want to live the life, right? They want to be an actor or in entertainment or something that is selfish, you know. And so maybe I have a bias or whatever, or maybe I have the experience of being in Satan's town. Like, this is Satan's town. It's all about being selfish. It's all about trying to gain an identity from the world. It's all about trying to gain physical things and be somebody, you know. And I'm thankful because I've survived it. You know, if I can still have my soul intact and love what's right in my life in LA, then I can go anywhere and I'll be good. At least I hope. That's what I hope.
So here's a good question, or a good little insight. Well, one, Steve says, I struggle with control. I'm out of cigarettes and I want a cigarette really bad right now.
Why don't you go buy some cigarettes, Bear?
But yeah, I told him just just watch your thoughts pass by. If this is a perfect time. Think about it. What's happening right now in your mind is there's a whisper in your head that sounds like Steven's voice saying, Steven, you want a cigarette? You want one really bad? Why don't you get up and go buy one? So don't start talking to that voice. It's not you. Never was you. Just hear it, because you can't turn it off. You can't lower the volume. You can't control your thoughts. That's why you get weird, twisted ones that pop in there sometimes. So you just watch it. Like, I picture a river with all these leaves floating on it, and each leaf is a thought. Don't pick up the leaf and start looking at it. Just look at them, go by, and that's all you can do. And before you know it, the thought passes, and you stay here in the present. Give that a shot.
I understand that nicotine addiction is no joke, man. That's why I smoke this thing. And maybe one day I'll quit.
Stevie-O, maybe you have some insight here. He said, this was needed. I blew up on someone today for being mean to my wife. I know I could have controlled myself better. I gave my 2 cents. What would you say? As he hits that Nick.
Say it one more time.
He says, this was needed. I guess the discussion we're having. I blew up on someone today for being mean to my wife. I know I could have controlled myself better.
Great.
Yeah, I said, observe yourself, because also don't
But
think.
that's what he did.
Yeah.
You know, he said it himself. It's like, I don't need to say anything. Like,
yeah.
You realize what you did, and then you can do better. Boom, that's it. It's done.
But don't judge, because another thing people tend to think is that because Jesse advocates for perfect peace, and that it is true, we should have perfect peace, doesn't make you a wimp, or that you have to be soft-spoken. A real man will get loud when he has to get loud. Just observe, was it coming from anger? Did you feel like you were under a spell, or were you being loud to be firm and final with the person? There's a difference. Either way, don't judge it as right or wrong, but see where it's coming from. Is it the right horse or the wrong horse?
Yeah, that reminds me of when people say, like, no, anger's necessary. Jesus flipped over the tables. It's like, it doesn't mean that you know what was going on inside his spiritual battle, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So like, that's just him having the awareness of how the world works and what needs to happen for the world to see what you're saying and get that message across. You know, it's like a father that can raise his voice or be firm or give you that look. Doesn't mean that he's feeling anything angry inside or you know, all that. It just means he knows what to do to get the point across, or to create cause and effect. It's cause and effect. That's it. You're not going to get into the effect that is necessary unless you create the cause. And sometimes that firmness is what's needed. That's what makes a man.
Yeah.
It ain't toxic.
Slang Insider said it too. I bet his wife was stoked about him protecting her. Exactly. Women love strong men.
And then there's the type of women, though, that will be like, oh, that was rude. You shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, and that's the kind of woman you tell to be quiet, less yapping, more sandwiches. You know, you gotta correct them in the right way. But yeah, don't judge it. A man has to know. You gotta know when you can be firm and loud. It doesn't mean you're angry. Like Jesse says, and I totally believe it because it's possible. If someone takes a swing at you, you pop them. And if you got the better of them, you know it's over. Then that's all the force you need. Offer them a beer or whatever, or a sandwich that your wife's gonna make for them. Get them up off the floor and go have a sandwich. You know, and if they want to keep fighting, you keep popping them till they're done, till they're over it, and they're not gonna keep acting like a child. Just use enough force, but a man should be able to get loud, and you're allowed to get violent, but it needs to come from perfect peace, not from perfect anger. Yeah, Matt gets it. Stop yapping, more sandwiches. Even Jen agrees. Jen gets it, and she's a girl. My fiance makes a bomb torta. That's right, it's a Mexican sandwich. Stephen says it is cause and effect. All thoughts, all actions are caused. Nothing is free. No free will.
I get the sandwich thing, right? And a lot of other people get it. But you know what? Where I'm at now is I realize that these people that are they're just totally asleep, right? They don't understand this type of stuff. And so maybe them being triggered, right? Because that's what happens. It creates them to see red, where they're just upset, like these feminists or whatever. And so that message, they won't get it, and it'll almost validate their ego, where they're like, see, I'm right, you're a misogynistic asshole, and so they'll never get it, right? What's a way to be able to get that message across where they cannot judge you? Because that's why I feel like it's the most effective thing. It's like, when there's no reaction, and then all they have left is to see themselves because they cannot judge you. And these types of people, they crave judgment. So if you say, like, yeah, women should just make sandwiches, then all of a sudden they freak out and go haywire because they're a robot that has buttons. Those buttons get pushed, and then they can no longer... It pushes them further away from the truth. Like almost when you're a kid and the teacher teaches you something and way too early before you're ready for it, and then that idea of what you're learning is ruined. So when you grow up older, it's like, I don't want to learn that, because it was ruined for you. You know what I'm saying?
Right. It's not a one-size-fits-all. I usually reserve the sandwich remarks for when I'm dealing with the devil. And if they come out and they have no desire to understand, have a conversation, and they're just going to be snappy and throw insults, well, then I'll throw some clever stuff back like that. But it's been interesting because it's a way to weed out those who are seeking the right way. I've had plenty of social media conversations with people who disagree with everything I say, but they're curious and they want to know why I think that way, even though they think it's wrong. And that's a way in. And then I'll elaborate and I'll say it in the right way and describe it. And even if they walk away saying, well, I still don't agree, but thank you for having that chat, that's important. And for other people who are committed to just being ridiculous, well, then that's when they get the sandwich remark.
Do you think a man should act different around men as he acts around women?
I think you should treat everybody the same.
But do you think a man should act different around men?
No, he might be. If they're good, if they're just men, you're righteous men, then you can have more in-depth discussions. Versus, I wouldn't be sharing everything with a woman.
Do you think a man should act different around men than he would act around women?
Not act differently, no. You may discuss different topics, but you wouldn't act any differently. I'd say you act the same way.
Like I noticed, if you're picture yourself at a men's meeting, a group of men, right? And the energy and dynamic amongst men would be different than if it was a woman's meeting, right? You're not gonna I think of do you hold back certain things that you would say around women that you might say around men? What do you guys say?
Like, what do you guys say?
Like men might say a bunch of dirty jokes all the time that are crude and rude. They might say stuff that's, over the top. So would you say the same types of things around a group of women? And what do you women think about that?
Looks like we've got a couple women in the chat. Purple Favorite says, made an egg and bacon sandwich for my husband and his boss. Told me his boss almost cried. Never had a sandwich like that before.
That's amazing.
That's what a good wife does, and it's and the women who are seeking will get the joke, I say it out of love when I say go make a sandwich, because it's reminding them, you've been tricked by the world to try and play the man's role and to compete with men, and if, out of love, a real man should want to correct you and tell you, and if you refuse to listen, that's fine, you're going to misunderstand him anyways, so I don't waste my time with that. But my door's always open.
I think that this is how I relate to the women and competing with men thing. It's like, I've been in industry, right? And I started making music because I just did it and I loved it and I had a gift to make music, right? And that's what drove me to do it. And then eventually I started feeling like nobody believed in me and, people were against me or they were jealous of certain things or whatever it was, right, that I created and started feeling in my own head. And then eventually my intentions and motives became to be successful so that I can get back at people. I'll show you. I'm going to do this great and you're going to be sorry. Right? I feel like that's the same kind of thing that happens with women. Is that women, they hear all this education about women's rights and that they're oppressed and everything. And that starts to spark a emotion in them. And then they're like, well, I can do that too. And actually, I can do it even better. especially when you watch these movies. We were just watching a movie. What was it? It was like Child's Play 3.
Yeah.
We watched this Child's Play 3 movie, right? And this kid went to the army, and in the army, there was one girl that was in the thing, and she was like the strongest one, right? She
all the
she
boys
did
are just
one-handed
weak.
push-ups, but she was still feminine looking.
Firing the gun like an ace.
She fired the gun the best, and they portrayed it as like she was the best teaching him and leading the man. It's like his mother.
It's Mr. Stephen Will. Stephen Will, you're on the air, my friend. How you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Amazing.
Bro.
What's up, brother?
All right, good to hear from y'all. Let's see. Don't have much to talk about, I guess.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about this when we were talking about women and sandwiches and stuff like that. I like I've always been attracted to like a strong woman, but not in the sense what people are probably assuming what I mean by that. Like I'm thinking of a woman that believes in like the traditional family, who stands by their man, who defends their man, who doesn't mind kind of fulfilling that role that kind of has that traditional like old school feminism, like doesn't mind being the one that is the provider and that takes care of the kids and makes the dinner and all that stuff. And it's not supposed to be an insult on their intelligence.
Yeah.
They're perfectly capable of doing a lot of things. They can be doctors, lawyers, scientists, everything. It's just
Well,
well, I mean, I know I'm pushing my luck a little bit there, but no.
I agree, man. I think there's just like there's a difference between a male and a man. There's a difference between a female and a woman. And then a woman is the nature of a female, right? And a man is the nature of a man.
Right.
And when you deviate from that nature, that's when things get weird. Of course, a woman, a female is capable of doing those things, but it's not really in her nature to do it. And if you notice, the ones that do those things are really big egos. They compete. They're probably single. They're not in a position to have a family.
That's when it leads into this modern, like, perhaps sickness of this modern feminism.
Yeah.
But like there was like at one time a feminist movement that was more about just basically fulfilling the role and not being ashamed of being like the housewife and fulfilling that role and having dinner ready for their husband when they get home from work.
Yeah.
And it's weird because talking about that stuff, especially in our society, it seems like insulting. But I think some women really enjoy that, and they probably perhaps get maybe annoyed by some of their friends that try to talk them out of wanting to fulfill that sort of role in society.
Yeah, no, I agree. I get on Instagram, like when I post stuff about family and these types of things, I get messages from women that have husbands that are like clapping and like thank you, because it's true. Like they're demonized for being, like these women are ones with happy families that all live out, and their life is about their family and their work around the house and their roles, and it's awesome,
Yeah,
it's all the single unhappy people that are.
It's not like it's a slave type of setup.
No.
It's just because they really truly enjoy it. They
Right,
really
and
want
natural
it.
role for a woman.
The slave setup
It's a
is
natural order of things.
Yeah, the real slave setup is being a woman that wants to go serve a random man as a
Close to her
waitress
husband.
somewhere, or doing working for somebody. Because at the end of the day, everybody's going to be working for somebody, so you might as well work for the one you love, which is your family.
Yeah.
Right,
You do it
right.
with love.
I mean, and just just think about how happy that is, like, as a family, like, when it comes to, just the family dynamic and even, hell, in the bedroom, all that stuff. Like, I made a good sandwich for my husband, and now I'm getting rewarded, in the bedroom,
That's
so
right.
to speak. You know what I mean?
It all goes back to the Garden of Eden and the real battles, which is what Jesse focused on, the root. Men need to stand up and stop being subject to women, and women need to get out of their ego, let it die, and stop trying to play God for men. And that's it. And
Right.
it will become a natural thing. And it's funny because, like Trevor says, you see endless people. Look at Tinder, all these dating apps. Look around the world of celebrities. All these women, they have this outer glow of happiness covered up in makeup and materialistic things, but they go through their whole life, 30s, 40s, 50s, and still can't find a good man, quote unquote. It's because they're not a good woman, they're not righteous. They never let that ego die. Even if they know the truth, they refuse to let the ego die.
Yeah, it's like Trevor recognize that song "Chivalry Is Dead," and what I like to think about what that song means is mainly because I think people might misinterpret it, thinking like chivalry is dead because we're disrespecting women now and this and that. I think it's more because we're not going back to the old roots of how the family dynamic should be, and that's why chivalry is dying, because we're trying to the way we are trying to modernize things is going just the wrong direction, I guess. The direction of kind of just kind of dividing the family, essentially.
When I originally wrote that song, like there's the tagline, just because I'm a gentleman don't mean I ain't taking you to bed. When I originally wrote that, I wrote it as just because I'm a gentleman don't mean that I am taking you to bed. And then my manager at the time told me, no, you got to change that to this. And I look back on it, it's like, damn, man, because that's not where I was coming from. Like, because I get where he came from, and the song was successful, you know, so I can't say which one would have been right or better or worse for the world. But I know my intention when I wrote that song was to say that I'm being a gentleman and that's the way I am because that's what I'm doing.
Right.
It's not because I'm taking you to bed. You know, it's because.
Right. Correct.
You know?
Yeah, there's a good point here that from T. Warrior says in the chat that, you know, would women want to take the lead role during a home invasion? You know, we've been seduced by the world to believe these ridiculous stereotypes that are not real. If you look at Hollywood, like we said, like Trevor brought the Chucky up, start looking at it with new eyes, and you'll see how they portray women as being as physical, better at everything than men, while men are just a bunch of goofballs and betas, and that's all a lie.
And all the guys that are alpha, like, you know, strong men are you know, come across as like assholes.
Or borderline racist.
Like they're either assholes.
Right. When it's really not that. It's more that they're actually following the order of God.
Right, and they're firm.
But they portray them as bullies, assholes, and the wrong way. And they're trying to make it seem like the good guy's the weak one.
Yeah, he's soft and understanding.
It's crazy, man. It's all programming over time that has led us to where we are.
Right. And you know, like when coming back to the chivalry thing, it's like this, okay? Like if you offer a woman a coat because she's cold, but like in a movie today would be like, I got my own coat, or I don't, you know, or whatever. Like they would dismiss such a nice gesture, but that is like to me that is like the real romance. You know, that's what kind of connects people. Like you know.
Speaking of
I think that's what it's all about.
Speaking of coats, women these days, they're, you know, you're about to go out on a date or whatever, and be like, hey, it's gonna be cold, you should bring a coat. And they're like, no, I'll be fine, I don't need it.
Yeah.
And then you tell them, no, you're going to need it. And then you go out later, and then she gets cold and she wants your coat.
Or like, are you hungry? She's like, no, I'm not hungry. And then you order, and she's like, can I have some fries? You're like, I asked you if you were hungry.
Yeah, and then she eats yours.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a game. And back to the, because I know you wanted to call last night, and that topic was, it was good that it happened. Don't judge yourself for whatever happened on the Facebook. These are things that we need we go into it because because if we don't go into it and we don't start to observe ourselves and say, you know what, man, I was emotional about it. What does that say about me, not the other person?
Yeah, well, I still stand by. I think the race mixing is beautiful. I think mixed kids are beautiful. I understand there can be issues when it comes to them growing up in school and or how they identify with one side or the other. I know there's problems in that. I won't deny all that stuff, but I personally just, it's just my personal opinion, or even more than just opinion. I'm not seeking it out. I've never even been with a black girl, but if I was, and I had a mixed kid, I think it would be great, but I don't try to search for it. I'm not trying to make it happen. It's not like part of my agenda, or anything like that. I just, I think it's just, I don't know, there's some people I talk to that just make it out to be like it's like a sickness, or it's like, you shouldn't do that, it's cruel, and I don't look at it that way at all,
Yeah, no, I mean, the way I look at it, and again, you have to have your own observations, or else you wouldn't be your own man. But the reason why I say it's not natural is the kind of what I said before, that it's not, God made unique nations, and I said it doesn't mean that it cannot happen, but there's an effort to normalize this and push it unnaturally onto the population through media and music. And if you look at TV, it's all you
Right,
see.
right. Yeah, I
It's
don't like all that either.
Yeah, so that's forcing unnatural choices and making people fetishize and make the other race into a novelty. And that's why you look at some of these interracial relationships, they end up failing big time. I got cousins that failed big time because it wasn't out of love. It was out of resentment for what they were, what their whiteness,
Right.
so they went to the complete opposite.
I mean, when you see commercials on TV, it's always like the white man with the black girl, but the black girl was like so light skinned. It's not even like it's almost not even authentic. It's almost like it would be better to show that with like a super dark black girl with this random white guy or whatever, you know.
Or even a black girl with a black guy. Like nowadays, I don't see it.
Either way,
Even in real life, you know, like I noticed that more black guys are dating white girls, and I see black girls that are, you know, friends of mine on Facebook or whatever, like always asking like, why are the black men not wanting us, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it made me think like that we need to start that movement, Black Wives Matter.
Yeah, Black Lives Matter.
Because
Black Lives Matter, but not the organization.
Kids are born
They don't
78%
matter.
out of wedlock. There's so many single black mothers, you know, and I'm sure that they want to have a husband. And you know what I think is because of that, because white, you know, there's that white guilt, right? And there's something about it. It's like they get this false sense of submission to their man by being afraid.
Right.
They're afraid of him because he's black, and so I don't want to offend him, and the black guys like the white girl because they can check her a lot easier. As where the black girls are kind of more motherly.
Yeah.
They're more motherly, and they're gonna like, you know, be the one that lead him, and so it's like it's like a false sense of trying to. I don't know. That's just my opinion, though. I don't know if it's true.
I always, this is kind of a joke, but I always thought like this is like what was I gonna say? You know, reparations and stuff, right? Like I almost want reparations for feeling white guilt. It's not my fault.
Exactly.
Like my family didn't even own slaves. We were poor Irish. I think we were slaves. So
actually, here, Stephen, to bring me to a good point, and I wanted to bring it up during the stream. Check this fact out. So Thomas Sowell, this black intellectual, very bright man, he has a quote where he discusses that more whites were brought as slaves to the Middle East and North Africa than all the blacks that were ever brought to the United States. And in fact, they kept white people as slaves for decades after they freed them in the U.S. So white people have been a bigger slave population relative to their population size in the world.
Oh, and one more thing, I wanted to bring this up. There's I don't know if you guys are, some people are not necessarily fans of Bob Dylan because of, you know, the whole, whatever comes with civil rights or whatever. But he has a song called Only a Pawn in Their Game. And if you think about how the media is today and how, like, you know, and how the left basically wants to hold the hand of the black man and, you know, and say, like, you know, like make it seem like they're helping them out, but really they're just like baby them through, say, oh, we know you can't handle going to college on your own, so here's your affirmative action, blah, 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 here's your pacifier through life, when they're perfectly capable of doing so much without all that crap. And the beauty of that song is it basically just talks about how, like, the people are set up sometimes to, like politically, to, like, you know, you just gotta check out the lyrics. There was this guy who got shot named Medgar Evers, like, right before, like, Martin Luther King was popular. And he was going to be basically the Martin Luther King, but he was killed, and there's rumors, you know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but there's all kinds of things where, you know, he was killed by, like, the NAACP because his ideas were a little bit too, you know, actually were too correct. It's even better than, you know, but anyway, if you just check out the lyrics of that song, it talks about, like, the poor white man, the black man, and, like, you know, and just, it covers everything, and it's just a very clever song.
Yeah. That's true, man.
But anyway,
there's people like Malcolm X that woke up to the truth after having a rough start and, you know, working from anger. Before he was assassinated by his own people, working with, you know, the CIA and such, you know, he had the same ideas that Jesse Lee Peterson had, that we have, about, you know what, it's not that we are unique peoples, and it's not that it's out of love that we need to recognize the fact that our cultures are different. They're not meant to forcefully mix. And you know,
when I talked about like the race mixing and stuff, I mean, I'm well aware that we are. I mean, no matter what, stereotypes exist for a reason.
exactly.
We are different. There's no getting around it. But there's the beauty in the differences. It shouldn't be feared. You know, I mean, and
Well, it's not,
and it shouldn't be perpetuated by the media. You know, which
Right.
obviously happens.
It's not a fear thing,
but,
though. It's just that.
But go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's not a fear thing. It's just that we have to be vocal. And if we want what is right in the world, we have to recognize that just like you recognize the God's order of man over woman, there's God's order about the unique nations, and that we are not to break that order. So if it happens naturally after you wake up and you meet a good Christian woman who God adds to your life and she happens not to be white, then that's amazing. But most of the time, 9 times out of 10, it is not that. It is all based on lust, sex, and programming.
Correct. Yeah, and the other thing I want to say is, like, you know, I don't have like all the answers really. I'm like a work in progress, and I'm learning. And when I call in, I don't have any planned thoughts. You know, I just kind of go with the flow.
Yeah, that's good. Same here.
So I might not come across as the smartest person in the world, but you know, I'm just here and I'm letting myself be vulnerable on purpose. You know, I like this type of discussion, and I'm not ashamed of it, and I don't feel like, you know, I'm not even looking at the chat, seeing what people are saying. I'm not saying anyone say anything because it doesn't matter to me, because it's still all love, regardless of, even if it's a troll thing. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, man, and I don't see it. Like, I don't think the choice word of vulnerable is good, because vulnerable means that you're able to be hurt. You know, like, I think it just means that you're open.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Vulnerable. I didn't mean vulnerable in the sense of, like, you know, like, I know what you're saying.
I know what you mean. That's why I said it. Yeah, I don't think you're being vulnerable, and I think that's another spell word that they use to try to make you weak.
I'm just I'm willing to be picked apart and put back together and then torn apart again. You know, because I think, you know, basically it's just because I think, you know, mistakes are there's something with mistakes that is like. There's something beautiful in mistakes, or even people like when Jesse said, once you finally get over your suffering, that learning process you have when you suffer is something that you would never forget, and it's like utilized and stays with you, because it's what taught you to come out clean from the other side. You know, like I think suffering is important. You know, I mean, if you ever look at some of the most successful people. Suffered a lot before they got to where they, you know, got, because of suffering. And, you know, but my problem has been and was even more was I kind of stayed with the suffering a little too much, and I wallowed in it, like almost like taking pleasure in it, which was wrong, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm finally kind of just getting out of that whole woe is me phase, because I'm sick of it, you know?
Yeah, nobody's a victim. Don't ever talk of yourself that way. And don't forget, go handle mom and dad. You gotta forgive them.
Yeah, at the end of the day, man, I think that we as men did end up getting that from our mothers, because I wonder how many men's mothers locked themselves in a room when they were kids and cried, and the whole family had to suffer for it.
Right.
You know
and you're also being right about handling my mom. I mean, like, I see it every day. Like, when I talk to my parents, like, I mean, I don't know what it is. I don't think it's. Maybe there's a little bit of a fear of doing it. I know it'll be helpful when I do decide to do it the right way and go to forgive.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing more and more examples of why I need to more and more every day. Plus, they're getting older. They're in their late 70s, so it has to be done.
Yeah, tomorrow's not promised today, so don't wait.
Right. So I just, you know, I think I have a tendency to overanalyze, and I got a bubble in my throat. But you know, it's and then if I overthink it, and then it becomes less effective, because it's almost like as I am speaking, I am tearing it apart. So I'm like judging before it even, you know, leaves my mouth.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's my problem. What I gotta do is just don't think about it, go for it, say what I want to say, don't let them interrupt, and just push through. And I think that's what would be probably the best thing I can do.
And that's kind of part of why we do this, man, is because it's like, it's a cool opportunity for people to come and talk about stuff without having that fear, because I know the world puts all that pressure on, you know, and so so we can come here and we can talk about stuff, and be
Right.
straightforward. And so then we go out in the world, we're conditioned to do it, you know, because we don't have that enough.
Yeah. And that's basically why I call in, because like I mean I'm not like such a weak man that I can't handle it myself, but I definitely seek advice, and that's why I do this and call and listen to Jesse, and it's like when people go to AA and they learn from other people's experiences and they can relate. Cause like I was that guy, I did that same crap.
Yeah.
So it's like that's why when I listen to Jesse, it's basically a tool for me to stay aware and hopefully I guess become born again and of God and fulfill it and stay and keep strong.
Yeah, and it's really like a deprogramming thing, because like you said, how you seek advice and stuff like that from the world. Well, most people are that way, and when we watch movies and TV and media and all that stuff, it's almost like we are getting a blueprint of what we should do and shouldn't do, and in situations, in relationships, and all kind of stuff, and they're programming us to think that that's the advice we're going to take on a subconscious level. And now it's like, now that I'm awake, I can watch these movies objectively, and I don't get pulled into them, and I can call it out and see what they're doing. Like it's intentional.
That's a great point.
It's
I
crazy.
know what you mean, because like I can listen and watch and be able to absorb the information better, for myself, and be able to utilize it without kind of being blind to it,
Yep.
That's why, like, I barely miss Jesse. Like, I think I've watched for the past, probably over 3 years now, I've watched him almost every day. And even when it gets repetitive and it's the same kind of message, I still somehow learn something new from it every single time.
Exactly.
So that's the amazing thing about it.
Check out Roy Masters too.
Yeah, check out Roy Masters. He had an influence on
Roy Masters. Okay, yeah, right on. Yeah,
go for it.
I feel like I'm a rambling man, so let me get off the phone
one last
here.
thing though. So before we let you go, keep observing, watch yourself, but don't let your knowledge of the way to go just be knowledge. Turn it into action and do it, because there's people who know the way, and we've met them at church, and they just don't want to overcome. They're kind of happy just knowing the way, but still having a little bit of ego. And don't be that way. You don't want to spend the rest of your life.
What's the point of knowing if it's not action?
Exactly.
Or action. Yeah. So I know what you mean. Yeah. Right on. That's good advice.
All right, Stephen. Well, thanks for
Thanks for calling, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys take care, and I love y'all.
Love you too, brother. Be well.
All right, take care.
Amazing.
I love Steven.
He's overcoming, little by little. That's all we can do. Keep observing and catch ourselves. Slang Insider says, take time to really dig into what you know to be true and be confident in that. Exactly. Be hot or cold.
And you know what's crazy? The thing about digging is, digging requires effort, right? But when you just still and you actually let go, it takes you deeper than you could on your own, because things come up and you just observe them and see them, and you just have this knowingness.
Black stepdad.
Here's my black stepdad. Hey, Daddy.
Shit.
Hey, Daddy.
Daddy's home.
Daddy, where you been, Daddy?
Going on, guys?
Nothing much. What's
Just
going
getting
on?
strapped.
What's going on with you, my friend?
Just chilling outside. Too hot to be inside.
Yeah, it's crazy how warm it is out there.
Yeah, I'm mad I shut off the air.
And then on Saturday or whatever day that was, it was rainy.
So what's on your mind, my friend?
I wanted I wanted to say something about what Trevor had told me last week. I think it was Trevor, I'm pretty sure. He had mentioned something about that white people come from a Christian background, they come from good morality background, and that he identifies with them, something like that. And I was thinking to myself, hey, you know what, that's right. I get along better with white people. I get along with all the white people at work, and it's because we share the same similar values.
I think I don't know if I said that exactly, but I think that the first thing that pops in my head would be that I probably said something along the lines of, when I grew up in America, I always thought that America had no culture. because I didn't realize that America was founded on Christian values. And then when I realized, started waking up in my life, that is culture, you know.
Yeah.
And because it's an ideology and a way of life. And most culture that
Yeah.
I've experienced or seen in other people, because I would always seek outwardly into other cultures because I didn't have a culture, right? And so I would notice that other cultures would be more so outwardly, you know, with their with what they wore, or
The
what
dancing
the
and
music
the
they listened
arts
to,
and all that stuff.
like kind of worldly stuff. And so I never really saw Christianity and God's order, and that is a culture.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know.
It's kind of like when I took a road trip through the Southwest and saw a lot of different, you know, Southwestern states, and you know, a lot more red pill based areas. This was years before. This was before Trump became president, I think. And what I got reminded of on that trip was the things that I used to experience as a kid. What people would call white culture and Christian values, but it was what made America America. It was thank you, sir, and yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. People holding doors open, no one being loud and obnoxious, but still having a good time. It was just like a knowing of how to be, and it was all colors. There was Mexican cowboys, and you know there was black cowboys, and there was white cowboys, and but what they all had in common was American Christian values, and you could see it in how they behaved, and that's what's being destroyed in these big cities.
Yeah, and then when our culture does get attention, it's usually what? Oh, we're gun-toting, beer drinking, you know, crazy Americans. When in reality, it's not like that.
But I will say that
So
not all white people are that way. There's a lot of people in general who use Christianity or religion in general as an ego tool to make them feel better than other people. And it, like, you know, it turns people off, you know. So when I see people that are, you know, the Bible thumpers that memorize all the scriptures and they pull it out to sound like they're like so godly, it's like I can see it, you know. So that's why for me, I just want to be the example and not try to correct everyone and tell them what they should do, but just do it for myself, you know.
Yeah, and I have a coworker who's always, when he sees me talking to the white people, he's like, "You want to be white so bad." And at first I was like, "That's stupid," but I remember Jesse saying that when he says that he's white on the inside, he means that he's pure and he's light, you know?
Yeah, and the dominant culture, because this country was founded by white people with a Christian mindset, Christian values.
Exactly.
And there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that the West, you know, all of Europe, all of America, it's a Western white culture. It doesn't mean that blacks and browns can't integrate and assimilate and enjoy the benefits of those values, because look at Jesse, look at T Warrior, look at Drew, you're brown.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting that so many people demonize other people for celebrating other people's cultures? Like when I play black music, or I do that appreciation because I've gravitated towards it and I like it. But then there's those people that will tell me that I'm riding the backs of black people, or that I'm trying to be black, or I wish, you know, whatever it is, as opposed to like just realizing that God created all things, and then we just discover them. And we shouldn't take credit and keep score and be like, oh, you know, this people did this and this people did that, but just celebrate it together and keep discovering and share like the beauty of life. That's all it is to me.
Yeah, and I was thinking on that too. Like when you said that we have to discover it, at first I was like, what? And then on the way to work, I was thinking about it. I'm like, oh, now I see what he means. Like, it's already there. The only thing we have to do is discover it, you know?
Saying that we invented it is just trying to take credit as, like, you're God or something. Like, I created it. No, you didn't. You just saw it.
Yeah, and I don't even like calling it black music. It's just music, man.
Right, that's why I'd say when people were like, what kind of music do you like? I'm like, good music.
Yeah.
Because it's either good music or bad music.
Yeah.
I either like it or I don't.
Music in general.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
Yeah, what's wrong with you, man?
Yeah, that's why I was thinking. I just wanted to like say like thank you for that. Because at first I was like, it made me feel more assured of what the belief system I have now. Because I don't know if you remember last week I was like having that day where I was judging myself and questioning myself.
For sure. Well, don't thank me, man. It ain't
thank
me.
God.
It ain't me.
Yeah, exactly.
You saw me banging on a sofa? It wasn't me.
No, but my life is so much better now that it's like I don't want credit, man. I want to give the glory to God, because you know, it's like it's our false identity of our ego that wants to like feel better about ourselves or whatever it is to cover up the suffering or whatever. But when we relax in that, realize that we ain't shit, and that we're, you know, our real identity is God. And when we can live in that identity, then we could thrive and be the observer and enjoy life and discover, you know.
Yeah. So.
Also, what about your question that you had posed earlier about?
Oh yeah, no, I saw this Instagram meme. I was just curious what would you think about that? Which was it said on 9/11, I'm gonna wear a shirt that says all buildings matter.
Yeah, go for it if you want to wear it. Handle.
Well, what do you think that means? Do you see the? Is there anything about that makes sense or doesn't make sense to you? Like the comparison?
It makes sense. It makes sense. The irony. Everything is so upside down now that someone's gonna say, well, this building matters because it's 9/11 or something like that. You know, like don't. I know what you mean.
What I got from it, what instantly made me think of is 9/11 is a single day, right? It's a day that a tragedy happened
to Americans. To
Americans of all people, right? And so the whole Black Lives Matter movement seems like it's a never-ending thing, that it's never going to be solved, and to me, like if Black Lives really mattered to Black Lives Matter, they would look at all the deaths. It wouldn't be just, you know, cops
just white people killing them.
Just white people on black people. It would be, you know, because there's someone, the statistics are crazy. But anyways, all the people were cheering it on, like, yeah, preach and all this stuff, and I just disconnected from it because I'm like, I don't get it. Like it's totally it's like apples and oranges.
It's a terrible analogy, but it's funny how they're so ignorant and angry. They just clap just because they're angry. So if it sounds like it's taking a dig at white people or America, they're just like, yeah, you go king, go queen. It's just silly.
Yeah, and I was maybe thinking too, like 4th of July is just right around the corner. I don't want to see anybody celebrating America that's totally against it. I don't want to see any of that crap at people. You know.
Well, July is actually White History Month.
History Month. Yeah, so that's why I'm like, nah, like I don't want to see any of you guys popping fireworks. I don't want to see any of you guys celebrating how good we have it here because apparently you hate it so much.
Well, they won't. Don't expect to see it because you won't. They're going to be complaining about it.
But exactly. They're going to say, oh, on this day, what are we going to celebrate, and yada,
you know what I'm going to say in July?
What?
It's okay to be white. It's okay to be white.
Yeah.
That's the new banger.
There you go. Now we got to get DJ Khaled, and we have a hit.
DJ Khaled.
What does he say?
You the best.
We the best.
We the best.
Yeah. We got the keys.
We got the keys.
Whatever the hell he said.
He's such a beta.
Yeah. Anyway, I just want to say that. I'll let you guys go. I don't want to take up too much time.
Thank you, Black Stepdad.
Appreciate it, brother.
All right, guys.
Now go pay your child support, Black Stepdad.
No way.
Amazing. That was my African American stepdad. So T Warrior said he's gonna go to Starbucks and order his coffee African American, and I said I'll have a venti espresso.
And I usually like to get a Mexican mocha, so I'll order the illegal mocha.
Yeah, or the undocumented mocha.
Yes, please.
Slangin' Insider. All glory to God. Exactly. Let Him shine through you. That's right. We are nothing. We're just a vessel.
Yeah, because like even as a musician, right? There's a lot of musicians that have an ego and they think that they're so great and they're a genius But at the end of the day, you can't get your identity from the physical world, man. And music, even though it's a tool, right? It's something that I can use, but it has nothing to do with me. I just happen to see music and make it, you know, and appreciate it. But it's not me. It's not my identity. It's like, so what do you do? Who are you? Oh, I'm a musician. No, I'm just Trevor. That's it.
Yeah. Stevie O Soprano. Sometimes you gotta just let go and let God deal with it. I think all the time you gotta let go.
That's what I think about when the whole digging thing, right? It's easy to get caught up in that because digging is a lot of work, man. You gotta grab a shovel and start digging, but it's actually a lot easier if you just sit in stillness and do nothing and let God do the digging, because He does. Things will surface. and then you just see them, and you don't judge. You just sit back and you relax in whatever those feelings or whatever things pop up inside that make you feel panicky, like you need to do something. Like, oh man, I gotta start playing the piano now because I don't know what to do with myself.
There's this interesting psychology study. You can look on YouTube. I forget what it's called, but they took a bunch of kids and observed them to find out if good nature and goodwill was inherent in children. And it obviously it is. God made them that way. But it's interesting to see it. They would have different scenarios where an adult is carrying, has their arms full of items fall out on the floor, the adult's struggling with the items, and they see what the kid does. And every single time, the child would help. It would take the lost item or open the door for the lady, just instinct without being asked. And it was amazing to see that. And that's exactly what, what happens when you come back to your identity and let God take over, is that it's already in you. Well, God, when He's operating through you, you will do the right thing. It's only your ego as you get older and as your parents destroy you with their ego that you start to try to play God and think you can do stuff. If you just let go, you will do the right thing.
And it's always the thoughts that are going to attack you, when you're older, and you start getting insecure because of all the programming. Someone drops something, and then your thoughts like, well, maybe you shouldn't pick it up. No, maybe it'll look this way, or it might come across this way or that way. Like kids don't overthink stuff. Like my niece, right? She's probably 4 or 5 years old now, maybe 6. And my sister was telling me that there was this black woman that she was dealing with, whatever, in the sense of it was her teacher or a principal or someone like that. And she innocently asked, she's like, how come your skin is darker, right? And she said it from such an innocent place because she probably lives in a place where she hasn't seen many. And she asked honestly, and she replied, oh, because that's the way I was created. Right? And there's no harm in that. And kids are like that. They're going to be like, you have a booger in your nose.
Right.
Because it's like you're looking out for people honestly. And these days, it's like if you're an adult and you ask that, you wouldn't ask that because you know why skin is darker. But, if you did, it's like it would be this offensive thing.
Yeah, if you fart in front of a kid, they're going to be like, wow, it stinks. They're just honest. And it's adults who shame them into not being honest.
Yeah, they program that fear in you.
Yeah.
Because in all those movies, man, all the movies,
all of them,
all the imposing of your parents, forcing what they think you should be, they're trying to shape you into something, right? And the reality is a good parent wouldn't need to do that. They would just be the example and not try to shape you into anything. Just guide you with being the example, and then your identity will come out and you'll be yourself.
Like what we talked about yesterday, we brought up. It's kind of we talked about at church about we don't do the raising of the children. We don't do it. We don't even parent the children. We are just like stewards, like caretakers, examples.
Oh yeah, that's what I was saying. I was like, man, parents. It's like the idea of family. It's like you'll never give up because it's your family or whatever. It's like, is it? Is your family really? What is family? What does that really mean? It means that you were brought into this earth by people, right? But there's this I don't know how to express it, but I see it as a puzzle piece in my mind. It's like people are so afraid to dishonor their parents that they think that they owe their parents something because they brought them into the world. We didn't ask to be brought into the world, we just did. And then
it's God, not our parents.
And people are like, I'll never give up on my family, and that's cool. But there's certain spirits, right? And all families have different kind of spirits and stuff. And at the end of the day, your family. I think the goal is to get your soul back to the bigger picture of God, where His identity, and that's your real family. And if you love what's right, you're not going to treat anyone different. Everybody is family. You know what I mean? Notice how certain people would they don't know a stranger, so they treat them different. Oh, I don't really know you like that, or it's because it's your family. You're going to do something that you wouldn't do for anyone else. But once you start to love what's right, it's like everybody is the same person. And
right.
it's like the only relationship that matters is the relationship with God, where everyone is treated through that middleman type of thing. It's like if you're dealing with God and everyone else, right? And that's why I thought of it. I was like, man, it's because when you start to rethink everything that we were raised, what is family? It's like,
what is it?
It's just, what is that? Yeah, I know what I was taught it was.
But it's all a worldly thing. Like he says, your only family is your spirit family, those who are the children of God,
Yeah.
and that's it. And it's funny because, like you said, people give too much weight, worldly weight, to blood ties. Blood doesn't mean a thing.
And
I
you
got
don't-
family who don't like me because of my views.
And you don't treat people that are not of God or that are not your family differently.
Right.
You treat them exactly like you would your family, and that the reactions that you get from them isn't going to change how you feel inside about them. You're not going to resent them, be upset or anything like that. You just can see it and be thankful that you can see it and be like, whoa, like you just know this person. I definitely can't trust this person. They got anger, But what does that mean to not trust somebody? It means that you got to be careful with those kind of people,
That's right. Skip says, if you ever do something that you know is not right, get caught, and then say to yourself, something told me not to do it. That something is the Holy Spirit. Exactly.
Right.
It's that sinking feeling in your stomach. And that's how you should, for me, that's how I try to tell people to understand that thoughts are lies, is that disconnect. Why is it that your thought that told you to steal the bubble gum, up here, but that gut is sinking, telling you that you're dead wrong? Because this is the Holy Spirit. This is God. There's no voice to it. It's a voiceless voice, and then this is the devil up in your head. Queen Butterfly in the chat.
Queen Butterfly.
Most kids are born innocent. They are taught by their parents and environment. Yeah, no, all kids are born innocent.
Hey, check this out, and I want to know what you guys think, because I've been realizing this, is that how people, I personally think that racism, right, if it exists, it's to judge people in their color of their skin is taught, right? You're not born to think that way, right? So they're saying that it's taught, and we must end racism. All the while they're telling you that you need to be educated about racism. So isn't that kind of weird that they want to educate you about racism? What does that mean? Teach you how to be racist? Teach you what racism is? Like Morgan Freeman said it best, you want to get rid of racism? Stop talking about it.
Yeah.
The more we talk about race and all those things, and I know we're talking about it now because it's such an issue these days, so we're trying to help people understand it and see it in a different way and get out of that fallen state of thinking, but racism only exists while you're talking about it.
Yeah. I don't think people are born with a chemical imbalance, Queen. I mean, you can damage your child for sure, drinking when you're pregnant, but that's the damage done by the world. The soul itself was still pure to begin with.
And if you are born with a chemical imbalance or some kind of dysphoria or something like that, why did that happen? You were alive 9 months in your mother's womb.
Right.
What happened in that situation?
Yeah.
How did the mother treat her body? How was she emotionally with her spiritual battle inside with that baby right there?
Yeah.
People, you don't think about that.
You look at serial killers, it's just like a bully. Everyone knows that a bully, even in the movies, they at least get that depiction right, that the bullies always have parents who are bullies themselves.
Yeah, and if a mother's like she's like a frying or a baking pan, right? You're gonna make a fresh new batch of cookies, but if that pan has a huge dent in it, no matter how many fresh cookies you make, they're gonna come out deformed. So I think of it like a womb. In the womb, it's like that cookie sheet that's dented. So I feel like mothers should be especially led by their husbands and relaxed, and all those the pregnancy and all that stuff. I feel like really makes it different. And then people are like, "Oh, I was born this way," but were you?
Exactly, and it could the world can be overcome. Period. Don't ever give in to the thoughts saying that you're stuck this way. That's why people who say, "Well, I have a condition, I'm dyslexic, or I'm ADHD," they try to do it to him. They try to do it to my brother.
They didn't try. They did.
Yeah, I mean, but they tried because it didn't stick, and that's the world. Don't let them put you in the box. Everything can be overcome. All things are possible with God, but that's the whole point of faith. And like how Stephen said, he's starting to catch himself with all the negative self-talk. You gotta cut that out. That's the devil. My mama said, you have gone too far, too long when it gets to where you don't hear that warning before you do something. That is when you've been, yeah, we talked about that too. How you said you realize that if you serve the wrong master for too long, you're like, your soul is gone, like it belongs to the devil.
Yeah.
Purple Favorite says, a girl I used to follow on IG stated she was going to have the talk with her child. Child didn't seem to understand it. She then stated she realized she needed to teach him about racism first. What a beta. You don't need to teach your kids about racism. It's like you don't teach your kids about anything. You don't teach, period. Be an example.
You be an example of what right and wrong is, and that's all you need to know.
Yeah, that's the dumbest
because
thing
racism is wrong, right? So you automatically know if you resent someone and treat them with hatred or anger or whatever, like that's the wrong way. So racism has nothing to do with it. You can only be quote racist if you're angry and hateful and judgmental. So those are the real issues. And then they're like, well, we need to educate people about racism. But racism only exists when it's taught. So they just want to keep teaching racism. It's insane to me. It's like an endless boogeyman that you'll never find.
Yeah, it's we just talked to our buddy Caesar. Same issue as his sister with the school system, trying to tell the kids on these Zoom calls and these since everyone's at home learning.
Exactly the same
to
thing.
try and brainwash them, like, oh, you know, you have to recognize your white privilege. These kids are like 8, 9, 10 years old, and they're already trying to brainwash them. That's why you got to get your kids out of public school. They're going to destroy your children.
These teachers are teaching 8 and 9-year-old kids about their white privilege, which privilege is power. They're teaching your kids about their white power in school, planting that seed of judging others by their skin color.
Yeah, and it's shame that they should be ashamed of themselves.
It's insane. I just don't get how the world is able to go down this road as a unit and a whole. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that do think that follow the world, but we're also being deceived and tricked by the media because it looks like the world is a certain way, but most of the world I don't really believe is. I think that they just give this big show and appearance of you turn on the TV and when you look everywhere with advertisements and stuff, they're forcing it on you. I think majority of people in the world aren't this stupid. I can't believe it.
They're not. They're just. I think it's kind of like the idea of how one man standing up can strengthen the back of his brother. Most people are seeking, and they're at the precipice, the edge of finding God's strength again. And it's going to take people standing up, and the media is not going to cover that. The media is like the Wizard of Oz. It creates this illusion that the majority of people think a certain way, that the majority of people care about, a transgender bathroom, when that's not an issue that anyone really cares about, because it doesn't matter. Use the bathroom. You were born a man, you want to wear a dress? Then use the men's restroom. I don't care if you're a man wearing a dress in the men's restroom. So if you can break the spell of the media, you break the spell of everything. Trump is right about that part. He has some things I don't agree with, but he is dead right about the fake news media. That thing is hypnotic. That is the source. That's how the devil is programming the entire world, is through mass media. So save your children if you have children, and lead by example, and get them the hell out of public schools. Don't let them watch whatever they want on media. You have to guard their soul, guard their innocence.
Yeah, common sense and wisdom is so much more important than worldly education. Because if you have common sense and wisdom, you're going to collect the knowledge that you need on your own time when you're ready to receive it, and not have it imposed on you. Once you start to think for yourself from a young age, you're going to be able to discern and see what's wrong and what's right and what's bullcrap way easier than if you start operating from what the world tells you because someone said it.
That's right. Deprogramming says, don't believe anything anymore. All lies. It's from within churches. Took me away of my own ego. Learning inner strength from within. Jesse, the man. Yeah, it's all inside of us. And right now, this does sound like it does feel like the end times, because you have way more people who are misleading the flock. You have all these pastors and preachers who refuse to talk about the lie of racism, the lie of every victimhood narrative you can think of. They refuse to deal with it. They just pander to the mob. They're not really teaching their people to overcome. They're like drug dealers. They just keep giving them a little bit of hope so they can hang on to the next Sunday, and then the next Sunday, and then just take their money. It's all a scam. There are very few actual good examples out there. So that's why you gotta be your own person, let no man be your leader, and when you hear the truth, you run with it. We've seen like 20 years worth of mess in 6 months. Exactly.
You know what? I still think 2020 is awesome. I'm not going to look back and be like, wow, that was crap. I'm thankful that I get to experience this. It's like, it's a crazy ride, and it's like a movie. It's not boring.
Yeah, no, it's the most exciting time to be alive.
It is exciting because what's going to happen next, man?
You know, so
I have this faith in knowingness that what's going to happen next is going to be great. It's like, you hit the bottom and the only place you can go is up. It gets crazy and then there's going to be order, and hopefully it won't be new world order, but
and even if it is, out of everything, I mean, God in the end, God wins. So sometimes these things are necessary. You have to have an apocalypse, which means an uncovering. You need to rip the masks off all these people, and that's what they're doing. They're taking their mask off themselves. The Pelosi's, the Schumers, the Israel Firsters over America, the Jared Kushners. They're showing themselves to you. The rioters, they're showing themselves. They have no love for anybody. None of these people love anybody. Because love doesn't do that. You don't go destroy people's businesses. You don't destroy your own country. You don't destroy your own neighborhoods. You don't rape women. You don't kill children. You don't do any of that. That is zero love. Love can be firm, but it isn't psychotic. So these are great times. That's what, keep faith. No matter what happens. Buy your guns, but keep faith. You have just started living. Enjoy and just be. Times like this makes men like us stand out from the rest. That's right, Alan. Be an example. Do not give in to fear. Alan agrees with you. He says he thinks 2020 is awesome. Smitty is in the chat. Smitty has entered the chat.
Chats are never shitty. It's always litty. Schmitty.
Green Butterfly asked, does Trevor know how to play Thug Mansion?
How's it go again?
Thug Mansion.
Is that,
Tupac?
wasn't that, wait, isn't that,
No.
that's not it, right?
Thug Mansion, let's see if we can, without getting...
That's I Ain't Mad at You. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of a Tupac with Nas. Matt says, I'm just watching, eating my sandwich. That's right, see, he has a good woman who made that man a sandwich. Ladies, take heed. Be a sandwich maker. Sometimes it really seems like we're in the eye of the storm, just watching it unfold. That's right, Black Toria.
Hey, look who it is. Credit solution is everybody's using it. We'll fix your credit. Come on down.
So, another interesting article, or some numbers. So, when Obama was president, he imported 60,000 Somalians.
60,000.
And nearly half of that, about 40,000, probably more by now, all went to Minnesota, where the riots originated. Some more of the numbers here. Once they did that, crime shot through the roof. Robberies increased by 53%, violent crimes overall by 56% and rising, more rapes, more everything, more home break-ins. A lot of these guys also join ISIS. They come here, get citizenship, and then go overseas to fight and try and kill our soldiers. And then, of course, who came out of Minnesota? Ilhan Omar.
Oh man, she's the worst.
So they basically imported
Did
the
you hear
voters.
her say that the biggest threat is not ISIS terrorism, it's white people.
Yeah.
It's white men.
So they are basically importing their voting base. This is why you have to be against mass immigration, because they will destroy this country and take it from you. Black, red, white, brown, and
Could
yellow.
you
doesn't
imagine
matter.
going to like China, right? Going to China, trying to get into government in China as a white man, right? Going there, and then getting into power and then saying, the problem is not white people. The problem is Chinese people.
Chinese
All the-
privilege.
Like, what? That just sounds insane.
It's a trick, and if you fall for that trick, you're going to help destroy this country. And that's what they're doing. That's why they want illegal immigration. They want mass immigration, because these people, most of them come from former communist countries. So they are kind of easy to go along with it. Plus the free stuff. Trevor always is good about that observation. People love free stuff, and you're controllable. So tie it together. This is no accident that it happened in Minnesota. This was part of their plan. Another interesting thing: the Black Lives Matter co-founder, that black lesbian, Opal Tometi. She was seen in a photo with the dictator of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, communist dictator who basically has Venezuela starving. He took all their guns, and now it's like the poorest country in Latin America. So these are the people that associate with Black Lives Matter. So think about it. It is a communist organization. And then Trevor talked about this, but this is another article. New York Times op-ed column was titled "Pedophilia is a disorder, not a crime." Amazing. You heard that? They think pedophilia is not a crime.
Sexual orientation.
Yeah, it's just an orientation. You just happen to love children. It's gross.
What they're doing is that they're trying to deceive the people into thinking that evil doesn't exist. And that's Satan's greatest trick, right? He'll convince you that he doesn't exist, so that you believe that God doesn't exist. And that's exactly what's happening. He's trying to convince us that evil doesn't exist. Like you can see it's happening now and everything, is that there's no such thing as a lie. You know, that the truth is the lie now. Everything is backwards. And the Bible says all this stuff, that the rivers will run backwards, and that's what's happening. So hopefully some good things come out of this. And then it's a real awakening. Not awakening, but an awakening.
An awakening. Yeah, let's use proper grammar. Except for he black. But yeah, so it's amazing what's happening. And if you start to step away from it, and we keep doing this fellowshipping like this, you'll see that there is an agenda, and you'll realize it's a pattern. We just had a good message from a friend that I met through Trevor, a black man. Someone that the media would tell you this guy would never agree with some of the opinions we have. He's the one who told me, because he used to work in showbiz, that the reason he left show business was because of all the black Masons and just Freemasonry in general and all the satanic vibes he got. And he mentioned the Boule Foundation or the Boule Society, which is basically like the Illuminati for blacks. They work underneath the white Illuminati or whatever, the Jewish Illuminati, whatever it is, but they're just another ranking, and these people help manipulate stories. It involves people like LeBron James, and he also, this black man also pointed out the fact that, isn't it weird that you find black Freemasons all around each of these major incidents, Trayvon Martin, George Floyd, it's all over the place. And it's something to consider. And this is his opinion. He can see it. It's why he left show business. You know, and he's not ashamed of being black, but he can also see that there are people who look like him deceiving the black community.
And the black community is being used, man. It's really crazy. They're being used, like the Al Sharptons, the Maxine Waters, Jesse Jackson. They're using them so that they can have a career. They're enticing anger in people with victimization, of making them feel powerless, and that there's nothing that they can do within themselves, but it's the white man, and we gotta get the white man and change the system. But the thing about systematic racism, right, even if systematic racism did exist, right, you don't enter the system until you're 18 years old and you're an adult. So what is happening up to that point? You're a kid, so by the time you're in the system, the problem happens way before the system. And it doesn't have, like, the system isn't perfect, but I don't think it's a racist issue. I think it's just a moral character issue within families, and it's like a fractal. You got the mother and the father and the family, right? And then in the world, in politics, you got the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. And the father is the logical leader that's supposed to lead the family and correct the mother and protect the kids from her emotions. And the Republican Party seems to be the logical side, in my opinion. And the Democratic side is very emotional and triggered. And the same thing is happening on a larger scale. Republicans and conservatives are just now being able to speak out, but for the longest time they were quiet and unafraid to correct that side because they didn't want to be called racist or whatever like that. And the same thing happens with families, with the dad. The dad wants to keep the peace.
What's up, Adam?
So he's quiet.
Good. How you doing, brother? Where are you calling from? Michigan. One second, my friend.
Yes, sir.
How you doing this evening, Adam?
Madam?
Oh, I'm doing well. How you doing, man?
Amazing. Cannot complain. I woke up today, so I'm grateful.
Absolutely, man.
So what's on your mind, my friend? Any questions, disagreements, comments, anything? We're all open to it, just as long as there's no anger.
Absolutely. So my question for you guys is, I'm 20 years old and I woke up like last year, and I'm just wondering, kind of you guys' experience with handling friends and people around you, because I go to college, so obviously I'm immersed in all of the, the culture, obviously, that is just so toxic and is so anti-God. I'm kind of wondering how you guys dealt with, the people around you that disagreed with you once you started to change. And if you had any issues with that. I mean, obviously you're going to have some issues, but I'm kind of wondering how that went for you guys.
Yeah, for me,
because
man.
I've had,
For me, because I didn't go to college or whatever, and I know college is crazy right now because it's like basically indoctrination camps. It seems like, but for me, it's like being in the music industry. I've built a network and I've known a lot of different people, and I thought people were my friends, But as soon as I started asking questions and seeing things for myself, I just got cut off from people. And what happened is I started to be able to, my discernment became stronger, where I was able to see who has anger and who doesn't. And I realized, at first I was like real disappointed that I was losing friends, but then I realized that it's my fault because I assumed people were my friends, right? And so I created this little box in my head and put them as in this friend category when it wasn't revealed to me. And when it became revealed to me that they weren't really a friend, I'm blessed that I could see that. And now I'm gravitating towards all the right people. And it's awesome. It's a process that's kind of tough to go through. But in the end, it's awesome because you're going to be around people that love what's right, as opposed to loving you, pretending they love you because you agree with them or that you have the same ideologies, or that kind of thing. So.
Yeah. What was the question
Yeah,
again?
absolutely.
How has it been waking up? You said.
Yeah, like how is it dealing with different friends and people turning on you and stuff like that?
Oh. It was interesting. There was that excitedness at first, like Trevor commented, and everyone, well, at least everyone I know from church, kind of felt where you're a little too gung ho, and still the ego kind of dying, thinking that like, oh, now I can go, tell people what the way is. But overall, it's been a hell of a revelation. It's exposed which people in my life that I thought were family and friends actually love me for me, and can be my friend even if we disagree on things. And it showed me very clearly which one of my friends and families would hate me for voicing some of these opinions. And it's mind blowing, because you think like, man, I've known you for 20 years, some of these people, and if they're family, I've known them my whole life, and here they are talking about you like you are some kind of murderer, and all because you disagree with them on something.
And at the end of the day, man, what really made me realize it is that they liked me while I was controllable. And as soon as I really became free to be my own and be who I am, they didn't like me anymore, because those kind of people only like to keep people around that they can control and that enable them. And control is evil, man. Like freedom is love. God loves us enough to allow us to do whatever we want and learn for ourselves and see for ourselves. And He'll always forgive us when we see that we were wrong. And so, but these types of people aren't like that. They want to control you.
Yeah, and I think the biggest, kind of dilemma, if you will, that I've run into is, I think you mentioned on the show yesterday about how when you first wake up, you get so preachy and, your ego is still so present that you're really kind of using that good force for bad instead of good.
Yeah.
And while I've been in that state, I've had friends that have kind of awakened to a lot of truths. I had a friend that previously was doing all these things, and now he believes, sex out of wedlock is wrong and all that. And it's been nice to see that, and obviously God will reveal all things. But I'm just I have a few friends where, like, they're not quite awake yet, but they still, it's like they're trying to live both sides. And, that's kind of where my friends lie, which is, obviously can be difficult at times, but yeah, I just kind of want to hear you guys' experience on that.
You know what I think of right there is that, like, I never stopped being friends with anybody. I'm a friend. It's other people have decided that that they're not my friend.
Yep.
Like, I wouldn't treat anybody different or try to judge people and be like, well, this person is doing it wrong, so they're not my friend. Because a real friend is someone who speaks up and is honest and tells the truth and doesn't give up on people. Because at the end of the day, people gave up on me.
Yep.
And that's fine, but it doesn't mean that I gave up on them, and I don't hold resentments towards them. I'm just going to try to be an example and be myself, and if they can see it and be inspired, because there's a lot of people too that hit me up and are like, thanks man, like you inspire me to speak up or, you know, say the truth, and I agree, and I've been afraid to say what I want to really say, and so there's so many, you know, there's always positives and negatives.
Yeah, you have the observation and peace of mind to see that, you know, those friends around you, what the limits are. If they are not awake, then don't ever fool yourself into thinking that they can't turn on you. And just because you know that they can because they operate from emotions doesn't mean you treat them differently, but it means you're not going to be naive. You're not going to loan money to a guy that you know will not pay you back.
And you're not going to share a problem or weakness with somebody who you know probably has anger that's going to come and use it against you or try to manipulate you and use it in a conversation somehow.
Or stroke your ego, like, you know, or not be honest. So that's why we fellowship. I don't fellowship with just anybody. The only time I'm going to fellowship is going to be with people like Trevor or Jesse or some of the people from Bond or here. But I don't need to go take my problems to people that I know are asleep. Even close family, like, what is the point? You're just asking for trouble.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, and it's so amazing to see how, like, they're actually appreciative of it later that you were honest with them, and you know they're so happy to see the outcome of that, even though in the moment they might not otherwise appreciate it.
Yeah, and that's all you can do is, like Trevor said, the ones who get it will get it, bro. Like I've lost some friends and you know, people that, you know, I've done nothing but treat them fine, but, you know, me posting stories about, you know, that racism is not real and there's a white genocide they're trying to do, and the real attack is on white Christianity and so forth, yada yada yada. I never once do I ever treat them differently, but they come and, you know, DM me like, oh, you're such a hateful person. I thought, you know, I can't support a racist. You know, you're basically, you're trash. And it's just funny how, you know, they end up doing what they accuse you of. They hate. You know, but you don't let it go, because there are plenty of people who also message me of all colors saying thank you for your advice or thank you for being honest. Just like you said, you become an example for them. And I'm not saying I'm right about everything, but I'm being honest.
Yeah, and you also mentioned a little bit ago some of the things you disagree with Trump about. I wanted to know what those are.
What do I disagree with? What?
Trump about?
Trump. Oh, I'm not a cheerleader for him. So as much as I think he's the best president I had in my lifetime, and I was alive for Reagan and the Bushes, I disagree with the fact that he's allowed Jared Kushner to basically take the fangs out of certain executive orders and policies. Instead of protecting American workers, for example, with the H-1B visas, they allowed it to proceed, and which continues to displace American workers. While we're in the middle of a shutdown and a dying economy, they keep importing people with the excuse that, oh, well, Americans don't want to work these jobs. It's just, you know, I'm well aware of those shortcomings and the fact that the border wall, he's had plenty of money to build it. Why are they only doing replacement wall? They've only just started doing new wall. So it's just, I'm aware of those shortcomings. It doesn't mean that I don't think he's the best that we got and there's no one else I would have voted for, but I'm not going to cheerlead and pretend I don't see these things.
Absolutely. I agree.
So that's all. I mean, I just wish he would be more hardcore about defending Americans all the time, and Jared Kushner should be fired.
I agree.
What are your thoughts? Do you think do you think some of that stuff is true? Do you see some of the issues that he's had with like Jared Kushner?
Yeah, well, I mean, and just to look at the broader picture, you mentioned the term cheerleading, and that's so true. You know how people will just blindly follow someone, and, you know, I agree that he's done so much, but it's also funny to see how people that claim to be of God are so willing to follow another man, no matter where that be.
Exactly. We're not supposed to be subject to anybody except God, and that's where conservatives are just as wrong too. No one's speaking out about this, and like Steve King, he started talking about, I forget what he said, but he said something that the media called, it's like supporting white supremacists or white nationalists. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, there is an attack on white people. And why don't these guys have the spine to say it and stand up for it?
You know, like their numbers would surge. The voting base would come out because it is happening, but everyone's scared of a label. I don't want to be called racist. I don't want to be called Nazi. It's like, if you know it's not true, then why do you care what they call you?
Yeah, I mean, where I go to college, it seems to be a problem that is rather like exponential. Like, it's just one of those things where the more you back down, the more ground that they take over you. And I just see so many members of our youth just so willing to give into everything, and it's like, it feels like we've lost every sense of ground that we previously had. But it's yeah, I mean, I'm really hated by my professors, and that's just how it is.
Yeah,
And
it shows you that you're on the right path. When the world lines up against you, it's just like Jesus said, they will persecute us like they persecuted him. You just don't let their hate touch your soul. You gotta keep that distance between you and the world. You always maintain the peace in your heart.
And then I was also wondering some of the things that I could maybe talk to my friends about in regards to the importance of silent prayer, and kind of how that's helped you guys as well.
Trevor has some really good ways of explaining the silent prayer and resources.
No, yeah, the silent prayer just helped me separate myself from my thoughts and my subconscious thoughts and reality. You know, like that my soul and who I am is separate from those things. And so that when I can just, sit in stillness and realize when thoughts come at me, it like strengthens the ability to see that, so that when I'm in my life, I'm able to see when I'm being pulled into a thought, or when I'm doing something subconsciously. Like, it just puts me into the present moment in awareness to realize when I'm being really me. It's not the programming and the world that imposed onto me making me do something. If that makes sense.
For sure. And my other question to you guys, man, I have so many questions. I've been watching church, obviously, for a long time, probably about a year now. Is it different in person? Because it seems like it's just such a cool experience, just actually physically being there. Obviously, I live in Michigan, so I'm a little ways away from that.
I love it, man. I look forward to it every week, and I not in an emotional way, but it's like you said, when you're surrounded by a world that doesn't want to see you, that's asleep and is full of hate and emotion, it's good to be in a place where people are seeking the kingdom, and you meet people who have overcome, others in the process of overcoming. But there's something there. Like, I feel like my batteries get recharged.
You feel a lot better about yourself when you're around a bunch of betas. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. No, it's cool, man. But one thing I liked about the church over this coronavirus thing is that people call in, and it's kind of entertaining to hear them more and stuff like that. So I think they're going to try to intermingle it so that people that are there and they can call. But I do like the fact that you can go into an environment where people are not offended, all different races, you can make jokes about whatever, nobody's sensitive, and they're all there to do better and try to overcome in their life. And it's just refreshing, especially being in LA, like where most people are asleep, and it's hard to find those kind of people. So it's a little hub, and we go get lunch or something afterwards and hang out. It's a cool Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, where I go to school, you guys would be amazed at how overrun the campus ministry is.
Man, I'm sure.
From just all kinds of evil. I mean, I've tried to. I was in a life group last year, which was good, but
I've seen a lot of YouTube videos about interviews and stuff on campuses and stuff like that. So I mean, what's interesting is you never see liberal, Democrat, leftists out interviewing and trying to have conversations with conservatives. It's only conservatives out trying to talk to them, and it's just, how come the left doesn't see that? They don't want to try to make understanding. The left is the only ones that get triggered and freak out.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like their environment is run solely by them, and if you try to intrude at all on their thought, they just come after you. And it's unfortunate because, as I mentioned, how this evil becomes an increasing thing when you back down to it. I mean, even I've only been in college for a year now, I'm in my second year, but to see how much worse it's gotten even in the span of a year is just incredible.
I can't imagine what it's like
just accepting more and more evil.
being like the generation growing up now in college. You know, like I feel like most women are especially in college and stuff. They're gonna be feminists. It's like it's no fun. You know, like it just seems like most women hate men and masculinity these days. How are you supposed to enjoy that? You know, where you can take girls out and be a man and take them on dates and stuff like that. I'm sure there are some women like that, but it just seems like it's just
rare,
it's
man.
no fun, man.
That whole childhood dynamic, the natural order of dynamic between boys and girls and men and women, it's just gone. And now it's just there's this combative, aggressive attitude with most women.
How dare you compliment me? And
Oh yeah, Trevor he always got like a good little compliment in his back pocket, and it's hilarious to see that 9 times out of 10, if he's in a liberal area, they take it like an insult.
I live in like a real progressive area, so it's like, there's no women out here to really compliment her, you know, even in a harmless, like, you know, fun kind of way where it's just making small talk, flirt, whatever. It's like, can't do that here.
Yeah, they already look pissed off.
How dare you?
It's amazing, man.
Yeah, and they're so like unaccepting of any type of diverse thought that, you know, you just get ostracized from the group immediately. And I mean, that's okay. Like you said, that's just what's going to happen, and that's fine. I'm okay with it. I think the only issues I've ran into, and obviously God will make a way always, but the issues I've ran into is it's just like finding people to fellowship with. It just feels like it doesn't happen sometimes, and I know it will happen in time. But,
yeah, man. Well,
yeah,
we're doing that now.
Around me.
We're here and now, so if you ever come to LA, man, you want to come to church, hit us up, man, or call us again, and we're here, man. That's why we're doing this, because it's like we don't really have that opportunity much outside of going to church either, and I just want to find more people that are like-minded, so it's like we can win, you know, like in the sense of goodness can win, and we can win in our lives, you know, and use each other as like, you know, I've always wanted to win in my life with other people that I felt like I wanted to win with me, you know, and so like I want to find, and I make music and stuff, and I'm hoping that it'll trickle into some way where I can work with other people and using my gift with music and stuff like that, and seeing where it can lead me, and where I can benefit other people with music and the right people. So it's not like I'm in a you know, the industry of a bunch of snakes just trying to make money and do it wrong, you know.
Yeah, the devil right now is amassing his army. We see it with these hateful immigrants, and not all at all, but you see, you know, the evil is aligning.
The illegal ones.
And you know, there's Americans who are on that side. They're turning against their own principles. But at the same time, you know, keep heart and realize God's also building His own army. That, you know, there's a reason why people like us are waking up and talking to each other. And you just got to make sure you're operating from the right place. That you don't go out there. You're not there to go wake anybody up. You just live. Be an example. When people ask you what you think about something, you can be honest. But you know when and where to do it. You don't do it on the job because you're not paid for that. So you don't want to jeopardize your income because of some hateful person. But be an example when it's right and you know it's the right time. And you'll be amazed at how many people start to kind of connect and just kind of get added to your life.
Yeah, I should take advantage of some of these cheap plane tickets, shouldn't I?
Yes, sir. Yeah, travel.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. And you're super young, man. So that's congrats on having open eyes at such a young age, at a crazy time, man. So I think you're gonna be good, man.
Yeah, you are the future, man. So you just keep working the plan. Don't just know the way, but live it.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely you know, when you're young too, and you're, you know, especially when your ego is so developed from, you know, whatever that may be, obviously parents and everything else, but more than just that, like you said, the media and movies, and, you know, the left has invaded virtually every part of our lives. Your life is just insane.
I would guess that you grew up having both parents, right?
Oh yeah.
See, you could always tell, man.
Yep.
Such a difference.
Yeah, you just sound better. You just sound more reasonable. It's just there's less hate in people when they have the parents there, both parents.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What was so interesting about, you know, my family dynamic growing up was, you know, I was a standard public school student and taught to go to college and everything else. But what was interesting about my dynamic is that although my parents, you know, had their flaws, it was always as if they tried so hard to preserve, you know, certain elements of biblical life. And I mean, it wasn't just biblical, it was just the right way to live. And, you know, so many things went wrong in my life, you know, from like 14 to 17, and I just kept questioning, and couldn't figure out why I was suffering, and eventually God allowed me to see that.
That's awesome, bro.
If you ever come out to California, bro, let us know, and you should come check out church, and we can all hang out. It's a fun time, that's for sure.
Absolutely, I'll call him again too. You guys, I stumbled upon Pros and Cons like a week ago, and I've just been binge watching it.
Oh,
Dude,
man.
man, thank you, man.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
the support, bro.
I'll be sharing it with all my friends.
That's what's up, man.
Thank you. Yeah, let them know that all of them are welcome, even the ones who are crazy. Tell them to call in.
I got some people you might not want to deal with. No, those are the fun ones, right?
That's
No,
right.
Yeah,
You
well,
gotta-
the people watching this stuff probably like that stuff.
Yeah, you can't run away from the devil. Sometimes you just gotta
Yeah.
face him.
This is like trading, man. We get to talking and be open about stuff, talk about anything, and it's like I'm not gonna hate you or be offended about it. So when you get in the real world, it's like we're prepared.
Oh, for sure.
Awesome.
For sure, for
Well,
sure.
Thanks for calling in, my brother.
Absolutely, I'll leave you guys to it.
All right, man.
All right, you guys have a good night.
You too.
Peace.
See
Jeez,
what
what an asshole.
Let's see what the chat says. Victoria's making sandwiches. She's taking orders.
Little can I have mine shaped in little hearts, please? With
With no crust, right?
light mayonnaise. I don't like a lot of mayonnaise, as most white people would.
Yeah, Nat
So
Turner,
they say.
he was a good caller. 20 years old. 20 years old.
20 that's amazing.
20 years old. He sounds more
He's
reasonable.
only 3 years younger than me.
Yeah, I mean, I just turned 21 yesterday. So we're young. We got time. Let's see what else is here. One call at a time, folks. Yeah, we don't have more than one line, so whoever was calling in before, you can call in now. It's all good. Let me drop that number in the chat for you. Alright. We can make butterflies. No, I'm just kidding, Queen. We're not exactly in our 20s, but, you know, a gentleman never tells.
You're 50.
Just passing through. 20s. Yeah, not in our 20s at all. So while we wait for Trevor, here, we'll do something here.
How is that?
Beta. Let's see what's going on. Is that the weed man? No. Yeah, we're getting our delivery.
Do it. That made me think of Fuck Outta Here song. How's it go?
Unknown caller.
I think this might be Mr. Lucas Reese.
Social dystopia.
Oh, a new caller. What's up, Social Dystopia? How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, doing well. How are you guys doing?
Very well, thank you, sir. How can we? Any questions, comments, disagreements?
I just want to ask a question. Would you guys agree that black people are out of control and white people are weak right now?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say all of anybody, but I would say if you're looking at different. No, I know. Yeah, but I'm just clarifying. Yeah, I definitely think that there is those issues. If you look at the statistics and you know, like I think of this now when I saw that video of the 30 black dudes stomping on one other black dude. Like, I've never seen any other race be in a group of 30 people stomping on somebody. Like, and it makes me think of Don't Be a Menace to South Central Drinking Juice in the Hood, which was a comedy movie based on stereotypes of black people, and they even had that in one of the scenes. So it's like known. It's a known thing, you know. And I don't say that from a place of judgment or hate, or it's just observation. And I know a lot of things now can be taken out of context where you hear it and people will think that you're hateful or that you're discriminative or you're racist or whatever. But it's just reality. And when you really have real love, you can point out the truth, and so that it can be corrected, man.
Yeah, the biggest problems facing those two communities are kind of exactly what you just
Yeah.
said. Blacks need to overcome their anger and their hatred that has been taught to them and reinforced by the media.
And the same with the white liberals.
And the whites need to overcome their
Right.
weakness and their self-hate, which has also been taught to them by the media and academia. So yeah, they're two battles, but it's coming from the same source.
Now, are the whites and the Mexicans and the Asians? How long should they be patient with the blacks? Because and it's not what it seems. How long should we be patient till the blacks are satisfied? Because is it ever gonna happen?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think at the end of the day, I'll always be patient. I'm never going to lose my patience. But it's just like, if someone's ever trying to hurt me, I'm going to defend myself. And if someone says something about me or to me and asks me something, I'm going to tell the truth. So as long as I keep doing those things, like, that's all I can do. And I think if we do that collectively, no matter what race you are, then things work out,
Yeah, it's not that we have to be patient with that, because you can't appease evil. So when people are serving the wrong spirit, you're not going to make them, no matter what you give them, you're not going to make them happy. So what needs to happen is everybody, even blacks, because this is also affecting the black community, everybody needs to wake up, overcome that ridiculous emotional mindset, because it's going to destroy the country for everybody. It's not that it's not black versus white, it's good versus evil. And if everyone doesn't wake up, we're all going to lose.
Yeah, well, I agree. I agree with that completely. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on in this society right now, in this country. But thank you. Like, I just want to get as much knowledge as I can from everyone else.
Let me guess. You're Asian. I'm just joking.
No.
I'm kidding.
I'm Hispanic.
Oh, nice.
Are you
Mexican?
Are you full-blooded or mixed or?
I'm mixed.
Nice. Well, this song is for
Yeah,
you.
I'm Cuban. I'm Cuban, Spanish, and Mexican.
Amazing. So see, you have some heritage from a country that fell for that nonsense, that black victimhood, and they overthrew Cuba, and look what's happening now. So,
Yeah.
and Cubans, I love
well,
them because the guys in Florida, those Cubans are based.
I love Cuban food
You know?
and Cuban women.
Yeah, they get it, and they're some of the most patriotic guys because they've lived through communism. So they don't give it an inch.
Yeah, usually Cubans and Spaniards are always usually Republican. Not all, but most of them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what needs to happen. Just be an example, so that you can break that stereotype. Because the media wants people to believe that people like you don't exist. That all Mexicans and all blacks and browns all think the same. They're all Democrats. They're all socialists. And you gotta just be an example. Show them you're not.
I would guess you follow Lexit.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
What's that dude? A-Rod lives.
A-Rod?
Hey, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I just always like intel. I always like knowing what other people think, because it's really hard to find people around, especially where I live, that like to have conversations. So I always have to call in radio shows most of the time.
Yeah.
Especially now with these riots and protests, people don't even want to listen to me. So
Yeah, man, I agree, man.
Thank you, Trevor.
And at the end of the day, if a civil war does unfold or whatever, I don't envision it being like different ethnicities sticking together and fighting different ethnicities. I see it like he said, good and evil. All of us who love God and love what's right and seek the truth and really can see. That's what the battle is, and it's like it doesn't have anything to do with ethnicity.
Yeah, there's people who are disproportionately represented in some of this, on the wrong side of things. But that's obviously coming into the white community.
I really do wish. Yeah, I really do wish that we can come together and stop thinking about and not making race an issue. Even though we all see each other, white, black, brown,
Right.
Yellow, whatever. We do see it, but I wish we can stop making it an issue. And we can just I could just say, hey, looting is wrong. You shouldn't be looting, and without them saying you're a racist and all that crap.
Right. Well, here, let me ask you this. What do you call a Mexican with a rubber toe?
A Mexican with a rubber toe?
Yeah.
This better be a good one. What do you call it? I don't know.
Roberto. I always say it with an Italian accent.
That's hilarious. All right, Trevor. Hey, thank you, man. Thank you guys.
No
Yeah,
problem,
man,
man.
call anytime, bro. That's. I'm glad you called and we're able to connect, man. Because like you said, there's not that many people we could really talk to about that. You know, we
Of
resonate
course,
with.
man.
You know, like
You're
so
getting bigger than you think, dude.
That's what she
Like
said.
trust. Keep doing these live streams. Keep doing these live streams and everything. Trust, man. It's great. It's amazing.
That's what's up, man.
Thank you,
Well, I
man.
appreciate it, bro.
Be well, okay? Call anytime.
All right, thank you. You guys have a good one.
All right,
You
man.
too. Sweet. Amazing. You're getting bigger. That's what she said.
Makes me think of this song. It just popped in my head. Don't wanna be a beta, beta. Don't wanna be a beta male. Don't wanna be a beta, beta male.
Oh, we got a Christ child in the chat. I'm not sure if it's the first time, but it says listening while folding laundry.
Beta male. No, I'm just joking.
Could be a woman.
I'm just kidding. I gotta do laundry, man.
Don't want to be a. That's right, JOG. Don't want to be a beta.
Wanna be a beta, beta. I wanna what? Be a beta male. Why can't
Oh
I
yeah,
play?
it's Christ child is a woman, a mama of 7.
Nice.
Wow.
So you're getting busy.
Your husband has a very good batting average.
Are they all girls or all boys, or a mix and match? Because if they're all girls, then your husband's screwed. Get it? Screwed? 7 children?
Get it? What's the matter, gun jam?
Yeah, we're watching Child's Play. Which one? We watched them all from the beginning, one night, like all through the night. It's just funny. Like that was one of those movies I watched as a kid. And I was traumatized from it, and then I guess you love what you hate, right? So because I was traumatized, I grew up my whole life like loving to watch that movie. But we watched them, and in the beginning of the first ones, nobody cursed, or nobody said anything bad or whatever, and it was just Chucky that was like the evil one. And then the newer ones, you know, like when they started making Bride of Chucky, everybody was a degenerate. They had like all these weird sex scenes. Then they had like all the people were cursing, and it's like it wasn't as smart as like the other ones. It's subconsciously played on you to be like, dang, he's so evil.
Right.
Because
It's
everyone else
clear who
was
the bad guy was.
like what seemed good and decent. But there was a one part on there where towards the end of the first one he's all, "What's the matter? Gun jam!" And he like his scream, you right, bro. It's hilarious.
Child's Play is not lame.
Well, I mean, I'm sure it's lame. If I watched it, see, I watched it when I was 7 years old. I had this Mexican my Uncle John, right? He married a Mexican woman, and so she used to watch me all the time. Her name was Lupe, and she took me and my other cousin to Blockbuster once, and she's like, "Oh, you can rent whatever you want," and I was like crazy, and I saw the cover of Child's Play, and I got it, and I went and watched it alone with me and my cousin. And I was so scared. So now it has like nostalgia to me because I watched it as a kid. You know, it's like you watch stuff when you're a kid and then later on you like it. It's like Jim Carrey. You know, I always loved Jim Carrey. But if I like grew up in a generation now and I just watched Jim Carrey for the first time, I'd probably, this guy's stupid. Just like Child's Play, you know?
Yeah.
Probably really dumb, but.
I still think it's pretty fun. I mean, like I said, there's something interesting about those older films. They still had somewhat of a moral. You can still see there's still programming with the beta fathers and such, but at least the bad guy was clear. Good wins in the end. And now everything's just it's
And
all
those
women
old
are
school
whores and the
80s,
guys are
90s movies too, they had these detective guns. And these were cool.
Oh, Leprechaun. That was another good franchise.
I didn't get into Leprechaun.
Oh, the first one was great. And then they did Leprechaun in the Hood, where he was just around a bunch of hood guys.
Really, I guess I gotta rewatch it. I think I might have seen it once, but probably because I didn't watch it when I was a kid, so I didn't really.
Black
think it
Tori
was cool
said
later.
The Ring was the scariest movie she ever saw.
Yeah, I remember I watched that in theaters, and that was definitely super scary. The hair in the face. See, what is it about girls and women that's scarier than guys? Or kids, right? I guess what you wouldn't expect to be evil when it becomes evil, it's like
The
even
devil
worse.
herself.
It's scary. The long hair, and she comes out of the well. Remember,
The
like,
TV.
yeah, it was crazy. Man.
Hot Computer Smell, thank you for the super chat.
Hot computer smell. Thank you. I can't wait till winter comes and see if you are a cold computer smell.
Yeah, there wasn't anything like that movie at the time. I jumped into the guy's lap next to me. No joke. Lucky guy, I guess.
Lucky guy.
Yeah, that's always an old trick. Oh, man. Uh-oh. Buffer.
No, it's back.
Okay.
Looks good.
I don't know, what time is it?
It's getting close there. I think, we'll see if any one last caller. Maybe one of the
Because
ladies.
it's been good. I want to go out on a high.
Yeah, so let's get one more caller. We got a few ladies in here. We have Christ Child, the mama to 7 babies. She said she has 4 girls and 3 boys.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's amazing. So let's see if anyone, or Hot Computer Smell, give us a call. Of course, Black Toria. I'm not sure if any other women in the chat. Or beta males, because you're technically a woman. Yeah, she's not the only one, Omar, but let's see. We got Hot Computer Smell, Christ Child, Slang Insider. Let's hear it.
We got T Warrior in the house still?
No, he went to bed.
Beta!
He's slinging that sledgehammer. I had to go take a nap. Queen Butterfly is out. Good night.
Maybe that's us too.
Yeah. Alright, well I guess we'll end it on that one.
Thank you guys for the shares and the likes. Leave a comment if you can, so then other people can come and see it and not be like, oh, this must be stupid. I don't want to watch it. Nobody even left a comment. Because most people are followers, so we gotta get it going. You know what I'm saying? So if you like hanging out and talking with us, leave a little comment.
Yeah, once it posts, go back to the video streams and throw some comments down.
And check out my other videos. I posted a lot of remixes of songs and stuff for Jesse Lee Peterson. I have original music that I've created. I mean, it's all original, but stuff that I sing and I posted, and just check it out. Show me some love, man. Get my algorithms cracking.
That's right, stroke the algorithm. Alright, well, I guess any closing remarks besides like, share, subscribe?
I think that's it, man. I don't know. I thank you guys for hanging out, and that's it.
I'm done, Cola.
That always happens.
Let's see, Virginia. I'm not sure who. Let's see, make sure. Hello, who's this? She's trying to do Maze from there. Wait, hold on, let me put you on speaker. Wait. So who is it?
This is Maze from Dayton, Ohio.
Is it really?
No, it's not me. But go
Why
ahead.
y'all so late tonight? Why don't y'all come on a little earlier?
Who is
I
that?
was
It
coming
really
on
sounds like
talking
me.
about something.
Who is that?
So, any questions tonight? Fake Maze.
My
Fake.
question is, how do y'all feel about this little George Floyd thing?
Is this FaZe?
Because y'all sitting here talking about like it's justified that he died. How's it justified? He was putting that little thing on, and everybody on Congress don't agree with it. Sorry, I can't do it tonight. I haven't done my maze studying. I haven't practiced my maze study guide.
That was awesome.
That was really good.
No, I was like, damn, that really sounds like Maze. Is this a white man?
So yeah, guys, it's a nice show. It's just like you guys there, and it's like 9 o'clock where you guys are, but it's like 12 here, and I have to get ready for work tomorrow.
Is this hot computer smell?
Yes.
Amazing.
Oh damn! Finally, I get to actually talk to you. I've seen you in the chats and seen your computer smelling for a while.
Yeah, it's been on its last leg lately.
I always thought that
It's
name
hot.
was pretty funny because I was like, wow,
It-
hot computers do have a smell.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like you walk into a room full of servers or like a bunch of computers, and they just smell like hot computer. So hot metal and plastic.
Exactly.
It's a hell of an observation. Did you have any interesting questions or insights, or seen anything crazy in your part of town? You're what, in Virginia?
Yes, but there was something that happened. There was looting and rioting happening in a city across from mine,
Wow.
and they did deploy they did have the riot police break stuff up and throw like the CF gas that people call tear gas.
Yep.
But it wasn't
Virginia.
as bad as it could have been.
That's
So,
amazing.
What city in Virginia?
The city that had the rioting and stuff happening was Hampton.
Oh, Hampton.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but it was like a light, soft-core sort of, rioting. It wasn't really something that was just,
I would.
like, a lot of people were just doing the protesting like normal.
That's good. I'd imagine, like, I would think it's kind of like Idaho, because my friends up there, and they had some protests, but because it's mostly, pretty proud Americans, they all had their arms and their guns out, making sure that everything was orderly. And so you can protest, just don't go vandalizing people's property. Was it something like that kind of too, or were they destroying a lot of stores and stuff?
Well, people, they could protest, that was fine. But yeah, they were destroying, like some of them were destroying certain shopping centers, and so that's the reason why they had to break it up. But when I heard when I looked on my Facebook and my friends were saying stuff like, they were like, oh no, we were just gathering around and praying, and then out of nowhere the cops came and started throwing stuff out. And it's like, so that was my first, that's when I first found out about it. But then when I heard about it on the news, they were talking about people who were rioting and looting. So they were not giving me the full picture. But yeah, pretty much.
That's the crazy part. Is like, there's nothing wrong with having a protest, but people lying that the majority of all this stuff has been peaceful protests is just ridiculous. It's so disingenuous.
Yeah, it is ridiculous, and honestly, like, for all the black people who are claiming, like, yeah, we did this, we'll do it again, it sounds like the Taliban whenever there's, like, a terrorist attack,
Right.
and they just want to claim it just because, like, oh, it's an attack, so we can just seem more threatening or appear more threatening as we claim it.
What do you think about the fact that,
They
like,
really should address it.
in the South, you guys have like another issue is that these rioters and these outraged protesters have been defacing Confederate monuments or Southern monuments, and then the city's been giving in and taking them down. What is your thoughts about that? Regardless of their history, do you think it's right or wrong for them to take down these monuments?
I think it's wrong to take them down because whether you agree with what happened in history or not, it really does kind of, like, for those who don't agree with it, it's a symbol of how far we've come.
No, I respect that perspective of it because to me, history just is, right? And it's only our opinion about it. And when we learn from it, just like you said, it shows how far we've come. It's not a representation of celebrating it now and being like, oh, look, we're rubbing it in your face. It just is, and they want to kind of erase history. And it's more dangerous to erase history. It's better to acknowledge it and learn from it,
Yes, I mean, that's exactly why I say that. It's like whether you agree with it or not. I mean, it was the past, but also I guess for both sides, particularly with the left, for you to take it down. I mean, it was just there the entire time. You weren't thinking about it at all until eventually someone had you thinking about it. Our governor is just pretty much. I really don't like our governor.
Yeah.
But next year will be time for us to vote him out. And I wish we could recall him, to be honest with you. But we have to wait, like everyone else, to get rid of this governor. So, and honestly, it wasn't really too much of our decision. It's Northern Virginia that really controls the elections and everything. Because they ruled that the gerrymandering that was done in the past was like racist, and the districts weren't being represented and all that crap. So.
Yeah, that's the same thing. They're always, that's how they manipulate. That's why they import voters, they gerrymander, they do everything they can to stack the cards in their favor. And it's just amazing how long they've gotten away with it, keeping people blind with all these little events, regardless of, George Floyd, innocent or not. Like, what it is and what these events always end up serving is their agenda to further their control.
That's absolutely right. But of course, they have to make it as though this is in your favor as well. Pretty much like as far as the quote-unquote, so-called gun reform that we had here not too long ago. They had bills that pretty much were they were going to make gun ranges pretty much illegal to civilians, with the exception of maybe if it's 90% of 90% capacity with law enforcement officers during training or something, which is not often at all. So indoor shooting ranges would have been illegal. But luckily there was a gun lobby that stepped in and mitigated some of those bills that they had passed, so it wasn't nearly as bad as it could have been. But
do you guys say y'all in Virginia?
yes, they say y'all.
What city are you from?
But I'm from Hampton.
Hampton, okay. Nice.
So.
Amazing.
But yeah, I didn't want to stay on for too long because I gotta go get ready for bed.
Well, thanks
But
for
it was
calling
nice,
in and
thank you
keeping
for
us
the
on
support.
here. Yeah, I'll see you soon.
well, thank you. I'll be around, and you have a good one.
Hi, Dan. Thanks, Mace.
Thanks, Mace.
Keep that
All right.
keep that computer hot.
Bye now.
Bye.
Girl, bye.
Girl, bye.
All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up with that. That was a hell of a. She's got a really good Maze impression.
Yeah.
Really
I don't think
good.
a white girl could do that ever.
No.
I don't think that's possible.
No.
Isn't that interesting?
It's really weird.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it could exist. Maybe it's like she'd have to be like a musician, someone with good ears that would be able to emulate.
Yeah, it's not
But
impossible.
I highly doubt it. I think
That was amazing.
I can't do a black guy voice, but I have to like lower it. I'd be like, yo, I can't do it.
We
I
had
can't.
a new chatter, Dark Side of the Bear. Thank you for joining.
That's what's up. You joined and we left.
So yeah, basically like, share, subscribe, guys. Hit the notification bell. We're gonna try and do this every day, be on time, and just keep it going. See how it unfolds. So you know the spiel. Stay out of your head. Be an example. Don't just talk about it. Be about it. Be bowdy.
All right, guys.
All right, Trevor will take you out.
Hit it. Pros and cons. The world blames dad when it's really your mom.